to and even beyond the ninth month.
Restoring women's federal abortion rights, still the number one issue for Democrats ahead of the 2024 election.
I think Trump's decision was wise because that is the best hope. I don't see why Louisiana or Florida and New York have to have the same abortion law.
Bill McGurn is a Fox News contributor, Main Street columnist for the Wall Street Journal. He used to be chief speechwriter for President George W. Bush.
I think it's a mistake to think there's some Solomonic solution where everyone's going to be happy. I think that's what democracy is. It's back and forth. Things change. I don't see it ever quite being as settled decisively one way or the other for a while. And again, it took 50 years to overturn Roe. It might take 50 years to reach another consensus.
Yeah.
Only thing I'll add is that it's the Democrats who want to nationalize the issue. You know, they've first through the Supreme Court, which threw out the laws of 48 states in Roe, and now they want referendum and different legislation. They want to nationalize it, and to the extent Republicans have to push back on that, national politicians can't avoid it. But I think the decision that Trump made is a wise one, and it benefits the Republican Party.
I know you said the Democrats want to nationalize this. There are Republicans who do want a national standard, a federal standard. Right. I know former Vice President Pence wanted 15 weeks, and there have been others that have said that. The president of the Susan B. Anthony pro-life group, Marjorie Dannenfelser, she put out a statement saying that she was deeply disappointed by the Trump announcement on Monday, saying that the Back to the States issue cedes the national debate to Democrats. Do you agree?
No, I don't agree. I like Marjorie a lot. She's not only an ally, but I think an old friend. I know her well. Susan B. Anthony List does great work for Republicans for the cost of life. But I think there's just no avoiding it. Let me add another wrinkle. You know, 60% of abortions now are chemical abortions, and it's going to get easier and easier for women to have an abortion at home. No ban of whatever weeks is going to stop that. I think for pro-life side to win, to get what we want, which is not just a law against abortion, but a culture that supports life, that supports the weak against the strong. That's what we want. And that is work of decades, and there's no shortcut. I would prefer the state society, it's closer to the people. I think that is the way to get more pro-life victories because we're more likely to win in a bunch of states than we are at a federal level. But honest people can have a disagreement.
You know, you mentioned medication abortion. The Supreme Court is considering a mifepristone case. That's one of the abortion drugs that's been used, and whether the FDA went too far in its approval process years ago. What do you think may happen in that one?
I don't know. I think that's going to largely hinge on non-abortion related questions, standing and so forth. Again, it points to what I think is a hard truth, that if we pro-lifers want to be victorious, we can't just have a regime that outlaws what we want. We really are going to have to persuade people that abortion is a bad thing and that there are better alternatives. And I think a lot of people are doing great work in the pro-life vineyard. They get very little credit. There's a guy near me in New Jersey, Chris Bell, takes in all these desperate women who want to have their babies and no one's helping them. So I think whatever the court does, I think it's kind of a sideshow on the way. We can't rely on a regulation to prohibit abortions. We're going to have to persuade people we're right. And I have confidence that ultimately our side will prevail. We're appealing to the better angels of the American people's nature. And I think history is on that side. Doesn't always come fast, but I think it'll come.
But polling has been in the pro-choice favor. I mean, in the Fox News poll back in March, by a 20-point margin, voters oppose a ban on abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy. That's the Florida law. They also oppose a 15-week ban. 54% oppose that, 43% are in favor of it. So it seems like that side has had a resurgence in those numbers. Those are better numbers for pro-choice supporters than they were a few years ago.
Yeah, 2 points about that. One is, yes, you're absolutely right. When the choice is between something they think is too restrictive or something they think too restrictive, or a more liberal regime, they do not want to outlaw all abortions. That's just a fact. That's been pretty consistent from the days of Roe through now. They don't want it. And Democrats, with their help in the media, have successfully portrayed pro-lifers as extremists. And I think the answer to that is we have to get back to pointing out who the real extremists are. One of the things Donald Trump did well, I think he sometimes has an uncanny knack for reading the public. One of the things he did well in the debate with Hillary Clinton, he pointed out that she is in favor of laws that will allow someone to abort a baby right up to the moment of birth. And she had no answer. And they were all indignant and so forth, and the press attacked him. But I think he drove that home about her extremism, and I think it contributed to his victory.
Now, the Biden campaign put out a statement saying that Donald Trump is responsible for creating the cruelty and chaos that's enveloped America since that Dobbs Supreme Court decision. Women are being turned away from emergency rooms, forced to go to court to seek permission for medical attention they needed. That was the case out of Texas. Left to travel hundreds of miles for health care. And in states like Florida, abortion will likely soon be illegal before many women know they're pregnant, and it's going to get worse. Your thoughts? I mean, Democrats have successfully worked this abortion issue since the Supreme Court ruling.
So far, very short period of time. We'll see what happens. Look, I would say what is more extreme than the position abortion all the way, no restrictions up to the moment of birth, federally funded if necessary with tax dollars. What can be more extreme, the position than that? One of the problems pro-lifers have, we don't have an honest press on this issue. The press is overwhelmingly pro-choice. So Republicans get hammered if they don't speak quite as clearly. And again, they'll have to overcome that if they hope to win. But I think the answer is, you don't like this law in Florida? Well, the Floridians like it. Their legislator voted for it, and their governor signed it in. Go move to New York if you like that. Same thing. New York has standard, and that might not pass in Mississippi. That's what having states is all about.
When you look ahead to the elections in November, abortion is the number one issue in that Fox News poll for Democrats, fourth issue overall. They successfully in 2022 used some ballot initiatives in some states that helped them in congressional races. They're going to try that again in other states in 2024. Are you worried that the abortion issue could boost a president whose approval ratings are low on things like the border and the economy?
That's what the Biden campaign is hoping. I'm just not sure it's going to go as the Democrats think. They're banking everything on this. You know, they can't. The point is, they can't defend any of the parts of Biden's agenda, his spending, his foreign policy in the Mideast. So they're looking for this to rescue him. Maybe it'll be right. Maybe it'll work in some seats. I doubt it's going to be the big winner that they hope it is.
Do you think this will be a universal Republican acceptance of what the former president wants? Or will there be Republicans running for Congress or Senate? They will have a different view, and that'll be okay within the Republican Party.
I think actually he averted with this, acting in the spirit of Dobbs, returning it to the states. I think he averted a lot of civil wars because he had gone the other way. Then he would be at odds with Florida and the governor. And I think now they're not at odds. So, let the states, let the people develop it. That's what self-rule is, right? By people, their own rule. Let them weigh the issues and make decisions. And it's a long process. And the decision might stand for a while, and then there'll be some ferment and may change again. I think people looking for the final solution to a very serious issue are kind of deluding themselves.
Bill McGurn, Fox News contributor, Main Street columnist for the Wall Street Journal. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1 and newstalkstl.com.
Buying a home warranty is one of the best investments you can make for your home. Are you worried about your air conditioning or your refrigerator breaking down? How about your heat, your plumbing, or any other major appliance? Fortunately, many people count on Select Home Warranty to provide them with a peace of mind, taking the hassle and cost out of home system and appliance repairs. Plans start at $1 per day. Call now at 800-231-5953 or shwvalue.com and save $200. In the event your appliance breaks down, don't worry. Select Home Warranty offers same-day service for repairs or replacement. Select Home Warranty is peace of mind you can trust. Repairs or replacements done by highly qualified service technicians. So I want you to call now. Don't wait for one of your major appliances to break down, for your systems to break down. Then it's panic time. 1-800-231-5953. Or do this. Get a free quote online at shwvalue.com and save $200 today. So that's 1-800-231-5953. Call now.
Get ready for grilling season with the Ultimate Burger Perfection Flight for just $89.99 when you shop omahasteaks.com and use promo code SIZZLE at checkout. That's 24 rich and juicy Omaha Steaks pure ground burgers. They're guaranteed to deliver an explosive combination of tenderness, juiciness, and unmatched quality. Each 6-ounce burger is guaranteed to satisfy with every bite. That's omahasteaks.com, SIZZLE at checkout to unlock this exclusive deal. Hurry, supplies are limited.
Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher.
If spring allergies keep you trapped inside, then you need Navage Nasal Care to keep you breathing clearly and enjoying all the beauties of spring. Navage helps clear nasal passages that are often clogged because of seasonal allergies. Navage gently flushes a pure, refreshing saline solution through your nasal passages to clear out congestion, sucking out that springtime pollen and other irritants trapped in your nose. Navage is available online at Navage.com or in stores at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, and Target. Navage, N-A-V-A-G.
On the next
Larry Connors, USA.
Joe Biden is actually trying to win over those who shout death to America. He thinks that will help him win?
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL 1019. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Tim Jones here with Dr. Kim Patton from Comprehensive Integrative Healthcare. Kim, you focus on the treating of neuropathy. What are the signs of neuropathy?
The most common symptoms are numbness, burning, cramping, usually in the hands and feet.
Tell me about the success you're having with your Restore Neuropathy treatment program.
Tim, our program includes 8 distinct steps, offering a unique experience from other treatments. No surgery, no addictive medications, and we are seeing a success rate of 95%.
Kim, that is incredible. How can people learn more?
Visit us online at CIH.health. That's CIH.health.
I'm always glad to have new sponsors, but I have turned some down. See, I only endorse clients if I believe in them. And I've been a spokesman for John Beal for 10 years. Through those years, listeners said they went with John Beal because they trusted me. And just recently, a woman named Mary wrote, "We got a John Beal roof based on your recommendation." Thank you, Mary, and all the others for calling John Beal. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
The left, for months now,
one by one,
have been begging for a civil war.
Every caller gets their say.
We got to stop and not put these officers in situations where they feel like they have to overreact.
And whether you agree,
we have to assume some responsibility, because I'm a black man,
or disagree,
I think you're politically wrong.
I do not need athletes to tell me.
You're invited to join the conversation.
Thank you for canceling all your games. Now I get it.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
infiltrated the system and is putting our entire country at risk.
With critical insight into the changes that need to happen in the Pentagon and America before it's too late. The War on Warriors by best-selling author Pete Hegseth. Pre-order now at foxnewsbooks.com. Now, a look at what's happening from the Fox News Rundown.
Good morning. It's Tuesday, April 9th. This is the Fox News Rundown. President Biden hosts Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida for a summit today. Congress returning to work after a 2-week-long spring break. Articles of impeachment against DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas expected to be delivered to the Senate tomorrow. And Florida Governor Ron DeSantis expected to sign a bill into law to lower the threshold for charging criminals involved in retail theft with a felony. I'm Sue Guzman on the Fox News Rundown.
This is the Fox News Rundown.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1 and newstalkstl.com. The Vic Borselli Show.
So did your eyeballs burn out watching the total eclipse? Totality? We'll talk to Dr. Randy Tobler Tuesday at 10:05 to see what happened to your eyeballs, okay? Because I don't know.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Congratulations to everyone at Connor Roofing. We chose the Connor Roofing team for our National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction without telling anyone at Connor Roofing, based on over 30 years of fantastic customer reviews. Rob and Kathy Connor and their team deliver very high-quality roofing, siding, gutters, storm damage restoration at a fair price with integrity. Connor Roofing has had an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau for years. Count on Connor. For an estimate, please visit ConnorRoofing.com. That's CONNER roofing.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
As spring is about to be sprung, are you in the market for new windows? Look no further than Window World. Window World, simply the best for less. Tim Jones here for Window World. Give him a call today, 314-993-1800. One of only 2 window companies in the country that carry the coveted Good Housekeeping seal of approval. Window World windows are not only durable, they offer security, beauty, and energy efficiency. 18 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. The preferred window of the St. Louis Blues. Give him a call, 314-993-1800. Check them out at windowworld.com. That's windowworld.com.
The O'Reilly Update, brought to you by Seavers JCB. Visit them at their St. Peter's location.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. If you own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles, listen up. Car Shield is a low-cost monthly vehicle protection plan now available to you. This protection plan is at an all-time low price. Please call 800-925-7584 for a free quote. Drivers who activate today will also receive free roadside assistance and towing at no additional cost. That is 800-925-7584 right now. On this Tuesday, it will be the dirtiest presidential campaign in history. Pigs won't fly, but they will be ecstatic with the mud flow. Already Adolf Hitler, a.k.a. Donald Trump, has a featured role, as does Demented Joe, the incumbent. It wasn't that long ago that President Bush the Younger personally welcomed Barack Obama to the White House with a warm personal chat and a nice beverage. That will not happen in January 2025, as political vitriol is going to reach an all-time high during the campaign. President Biden will not debate, so don't expect any face-to-face insults. It will be a verbal hand grenade affair from afar, and the exposition will be vivid. Mr. Trump has already called Mr. Biden the worst president in history: senile, lazy, stupid, corrupt, a drooler, a nitwit, and a snollygoster. Not to be outdone, the president describes or implies that Trump is sick, a Nazi, a racist, a miscreant, a vulgarian, corrupt, a traitor, and a climate denier. Biden says his likely opponent would impose fascism on America, perhaps even relaunch U-boats. Democracy works best when there is robust debate and a concentration on problem solving. Starts to wobble when hatred dominates. Get ready for the wobble. Back after this. You can now watch new episodes of the No Spin News live on Samsung TV Plus. Tune in each weeknight at 8 p.m. on the First TV for breaking news, honest analysis, and the best election coverage in America. Please join me, Bill O'Reilly, at the First TV, now available on Samsung TV Plus. Start watching today on your Samsung television, Galaxy devices, or the Samsung TV Plus mobile app. Check out the No Spin News each weeknight at 8 p.m. on the First TV, Samsung TV Plus. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Partly sunny and mild today. There is just a slight chance of a shower, but most of today's rain will slide by to the south of St. Louis, up to 72 this afternoon. Tonight, rain still hanging to the south for the most part. Lots of clouds, though, 54 for a mild overnight low. Higher rain chances kicking in on Wednesday and lasting into Thursday, too. We're at 68 for the high Wednesday. Could see more than an inch of rain from Wednesday into Thursday. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Shea.
Staff Sergeant Mark Anthony Madrid.
Staff Sergeant Samantha Cowell.
I'm Staff Sergeant Alex
Staff Sergeant William Lewis, and I am proud to defend my family and our nation.
The Air Force Reserve is part of the story of this great nation.
I'm grateful that I have a chance to wear the uniform of the heroes that went before me.
I'm proud to be part of a team that helps make a difference in the world.
Every day, men and women from communities across this nation serve as reserve citizen airmen. Even as technology evolves and changes, our commitment to defend and protect this nation remains steadfast. We celebrate those who have served and those who are proudly serving. We celebrate our proud history and look towards an exciting and uniting future. Our mission is to fly, fight, and win in air, space, and cyberspace.
And I am proud to be a member. And I'm proud to serve in the United States.
And I am proud to protect our country.
Proud to serve in the U.S. Air Force Reserve.
United States Deputy Sheriff's Association is a national nonprofit and America's largest non-governmental provider of services to law enforcement. USDSA assists city, county, state, and federal law enforcement agencies through our many varied programs, including free safety equipment donations, free officer survival training, cash donations, and condolence letters to the family of law enforcement officers who perished in the line of duty. USDSA also offers college scholarships for the dependent children of law enforcement, along with a citizen awareness program and thank you cards to law enforcement. These are just some of the ways United States Deputy Sheriff's Association assists America's law enforcement and the citizens they serve. For more information about United States Deputy Sheriff's Association or to see how you can help, visit www.usdeputy.org. United States Deputy Sheriff's Association, taking training to the next level because lives are on the line.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Come join the conversation.
Enable our Alexa skill. Hey, Alexa, play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Always streaming at newstalkstl.com or on your radio at 1019, 94.1, and 99.1 HD3. News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion. Welcome home. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Let's get the day started right. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Donald Trump finally makes up his mind on where he stands regarding abortion in this country. He made that announcement on Monday, a little bit later on today. I want to know what you think on that. Matter of fact, you know what? You can send me your thoughts on it right now. I'm watching the Rumble chat box. You can also send it to us on Facebook or Twitter, of course. But essentially what Trump said is that he's not in favor of a national ban and the decision should be left to the states. If you're pro-life, is that good enough for you? If you are pro-abortion, is that good enough for you? We're going to talk about that in a little more depth later on. All right, the question over squatters and squatters' rights in this country back in the news over the last couple of weeks, not just because of some of these just unbelievably egregious cases in places like California and New York, but also because Ron DeSantis in Florida led the legislature into changing the law and making sure that squatters are treated like the criminals that they actually are. Missouri is looking at similar legislation on that. Mark Miller from the Pacific Legal Foundation was on Monday's program with us, and he gave us this take on the legal aspect of it and why it's so crucial that we get rid of so-called squatters' rights in this country. A lot of people would say, how is this even possible that somebody could just walk into somebody else's property and just take it over, and then the legal burden would actually be on the property owner? And so I know laws vary from state to state, but when it comes to the actual concepts itself, I think that's why people have such a visceral reaction when they see stories about squatters. And in one case in New York, where the actual homeowner was putting handcuffs and hauled off by police. What do we need to know about the basic concept to start with?
Mike, thanks so much for having me on. And you do a great job of sort of explaining how many different topics come together here. You have law, you've got policy, you've got what we think are our property rights, and then you have this idea that people are just coming onto your property and sort of taking it over, as you said. And it does upset the way people look at the world and what they think how they think the world is supposed to work, because ultimately property rights are the basic foundation of a civil society. If we can't trust that our property rights will be respected by fellow citizens, by the government, then really what do we have? Property rights are the building block of a stable society. And so here, like you said, that case in New York is intriguing. Miss Elise Andaloro was arrested when she changed the locks on what was her home, or is her home, because squatter was there, and the police said, well, we're sorry, but after 30 days, that squatter or trespasser has rights as if they're a tenant. And it's not just in Queens. It's gotten attention because of the cases. There's a couple of cases in Queens. Certainly, it's 1,200 of these cases in Atlanta. And it's really all over the coast and in the Midwest, in the bigger cities like St. Louis and Chicago. But it's getting attention now because it's just one of those things that has been percolating under the surface for years and has just caught fire because of some of these more horrifying fact patterns.
Mark, I read an article about a week and a half ago that said there are people in Atlanta who have told media and told others they're afraid to go on vacation in Atlanta specifically because they're afraid they're going to come back and be locked out of their own home by a trespasser who claims squatters' rights. Is that an actual legitimate concern, or is that just something that's become hyperbolic?
Well, I think it speaks to another fact that makes this issue so intriguing from so many different perspectives, which is, to be sure, you would think when you go on vacation for a few weeks, no one should be able to move in. But part of the problem here, I'm going to tell you, is cultural. It's not just legal. It's not just policy. It's not just that we have to change the laws, but we also have to change the culture. And what I mean by that is 40 or 50 years ago, everybody knew their neighbors. When I was growing up, when my grandparents, who were snowbirds, went on vacation from New Jersey to Florida, the police knew they were on vacation, and the neighbors knew they were on vacation as snowbirds down in Florida. And if something was amiss at the house, the police or the neighbors would call them and say, hey, something's going on at your house. Now we're so isolated that, in fact, if you go away for a few weeks, maybe these squatters see that your house is empty and they move in, and the neighbors don't know any different. And that is something that we all as Americans have to consider, whether we need to get back maybe to where we were, and maybe we have some skin in the game here. Not to in any way excuse these squatters who are effectively trespassers. Joe Rogan, I've heard, has called them, committing theft, and really they are. They're stealing your property at least for some period of time until the courts enforce your property rights, which can take years, especially in some of the bigger cities.
Yeah, absolutely. We're visiting with Mark Miller from the Pacific Legal Foundation. You mentioned Florida, and it was kind of amazing that once this went back into the headlines, and you're right, this has been something that's been often on the news headlines for years. But Florida quickly put together legislation, signed it into law, and as I understand it, basically said, we're going to change the burden of proof in these cases. It's not a civil case anymore. It's going to be a criminal case. And outside of actual tenant disputes, I mean, those aren't affected by this, but they're saying that at this point, it's not up to the property owner to prove that they own the property and that they have the rights to it. It's going to be up to the person who's being accused of trespassing to show it right away, or the police will treat it like a criminal matter, like a theft of a home, the same way they would if they stole your car and dropped off. Is that the legal approach that should be taken? Because there are lawmakers in some other states that are saying, we're looking at that legislation and we'd like to duplicate it in our state and shift that burden from civil to criminal and put the impetus on the person who's being accused of breaking in that house.
Yes, I think that one of the reasons Florida is at the forefront, not just because Governor DeSantis has been particularly strong in his 6 years in office in making sure Florida leads the way. As you know, I used to work for Kristi Noem, and we tried to do the same thing when I was working for her as her chief of staff and general counsel, to lead the way for the rest of the country as to the right way to handle things. Here, one of the reasons the legislature of Florida and Governor DeSantis were ahead of the curve, if you will, and got this law passed before it really hit the fan is because it's been a problem for years in Florida, really coming out of the foreclosure crisis. And even within the foreclosure crisis, you had homeowners who were leaving because they were defaulting on their mortgage. They'd move out, and trespassers, squatters would see the empty house and move in. And so the bank lawyers who were representing the banks that were foreclosing the properties would find themselves with a second problem on their hands. They didn't just have to take care of the foreclosure, but they also had to get the squatters out. And they saw it took months or even years. I've had bank lawyers explain to me it could take years. And so Florida got ahead of the curve, if you will, and they passed a law to put the onus on the trespasser, on the squatter. Prove you have a lease very quickly. Show us you have a lease, or what is a verifiable notarized lease, or show us proof of payment and that you've been paying rent, and that this is a typical landlord-tenant dispute, not a squatter who's trespassing. And unless you can do that, you're out. The police are supposed to get you out immediately without any resorting to courts.
Is there a difference between squatting and the term that I've seen thrown around a lot, adverse possession? I think a lot of people say, well, that's just a different way of saying squatting. Are those two different things, or are those the same thing?
So at common law, and really for most of American history, we would use those terms interchangeably, squatting and adverse possession. The idea with adverse possession is that there's a property that's empty, that appears to be abandoned, not a house, but rather that's clearly lived in, like a vacation home, like you said, but rather, perhaps just a bare acre of property that hasn't been developed. And at common law and then early American law, we would encourage that land to be developed. And if the owner had abandoned it, then after a number of years of living there openly as an adverse possessor, even in most states paying property taxes, and like I said, years, could be 7 years, 20 years in Pennsylvania, 10 years in other states. But after a number of years, you can then go to court and say, hey, I should now have title to this because the original owner just has flown the coop, has disappeared. What's happening is we are shunting these current situations that are nothing like what I just described. But because we don't have laws to address this problem of people just trespassing into private property, we call them squatters, or we call it adverse possessing, but that's not what it is at all. And again, that's one of the reasons to applaud what Governor DeSantis is doing and hope that other states follow suit. I'm not generally someone who encourages new laws. I think we have too many laws on the books in the first place. But here, where we have what is effectively a new circumstance, or at least something that's been developing for a number of years, but our laws hadn't really addressed correctly, I think you need laws like what Governor DeSantis passed in Florida.
All right, Mark Miller, Pacific Legal Foundation, and I like what you said early on as well, and I wish we had more time to talk about it, is that property rights are crucial as a foundation of a free society. But people want to follow your work, get in touch with Pacific Legal Foundation. What are the best ways to do it?
Well, pacificlegal.org. As you know, Mike, we're a nonprofit. We represent property owners for free who are in dispute with local, state, or federal governments. And if you have another government, we'll sue them too. Or you can make a donation. As I said, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. People donate money to us so we can represent the little guy, the David, in the fights with the government Goliath. Just like the squatter situation where the laws are allowing people to trespass on their property, we will represent property owners who are facing squatters and need them off their property, and will sue the local government to make it happen.
All right. Great talking to you again, Mark. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike.
Let's get things started with the first morning news dump of the day just ahead right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Don't forget, we are streaming on Rumble and on Facebook and on Twitter. And, of course, you can go to newstalkstl.com and listen to us all day long streaming audio, or just grab the News Talk app as well. It is free in your app store.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion from the voices you know and trust. News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and newstalkstl.com.
Tim Jones here. I'm with Eric from Newsteaders, Newsteaders Fine Jewelers. Eric, Newsteaders has been around since 1961. Tell us the story.
Well, Richard started this 62 years ago, and we've stayed a local family-owned store since then. We've actually got 3 generations of Newsteaders working in the store. Richard, his wife, his daughter, and his granddaughter, and we all love what we do. We're kind of a St. Louis family tradition, and we do a lot of unique and one-of-a-kind custom pieces, as well as repairs. There's basically nothing that we can't do, and all of our work is done on site, so you can feel secure knowing that your jewelry never leaves, which is unusual now. And we can computer generate images of custom pieces if you want to go custom. We can take that old jewelry that you're not wearing, and we can turn that into something new that you absolutely love.
Newsteaders, a St. Louis jewelry tradition since 1961. Stop by and find out why. 2961 Daughtery Ferry Road, or on the internet, wowdiamonds.com for Newsteaders Fine Jewelers.
I have a personal story about why I trust McGuire Moving and Storage. A relative needed to escape an unhealthy relationship. Josh, Christine, and the McGuire team were understanding, even comforting. That's why I'm honored to endorse McGuire. Since 1935, McGuire's been moving and caring for families. So, moving a home, office, local, or long distance. McGuireMoving.com. McGuireMoving.com.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote quality Christ-centered K-12 education nationwide.
Hi, this is Chris Stegall with the Herzog Foundation. We offer a wide variety of resources relevant to today's families, including a free online publication called The Lion. The lion is one of God's most majestic creatures, symbolizing strength and courage. Named for its attributes, the Lion publication carries articles covering a wide range of topics facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. The Lion can be found online at readlion.com. That's READ lion.com.
Sign up for The Lion at readlion.com and find dozens of must-read articles published every day. Visit readlion.com and subscribe for the weekly and daily digests so you never miss an article. Readlion.com. That's readlion.com.
You can't buy a best friend. You can love them, walk them, pet them, and care for them, whether they want you to or not. You can take a picture or 50. You can fly to the moon, travel the world, or just stay in bed. You can't buy a best friend like that, but you can adopt one. There are millions of pets waiting for a best friend just like you. Help us save them all at bestfriends.org.
And then the media.
101.9 and 94.1.
They lying about what's going on in America. They lying about it.
News Talk STL.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks, the Morning News Dump.
All right, President Biden seems to think the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling is nothing to worry about. Doesn't affect him.
That's how he thinks about everything from the Supreme Court.
Yeah, it doesn't apply.
No.
Doesn't apply. That's for them over there. All right. And law enforcement in Illinois highlighting the consequences of the left's pro-criminal laws. We'll get to that here in a minute. And Donald Trump announces his position on abortion. So here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to set aside plenty of time so you can share your thoughts on that. I've got questions for you. I will tell you what I think, but I really want to hear what you think first. Essentially, basically, is it good enough if you are pro-life? Does that position satisfy you? We'll get into that here in just a little bit. It is 5:50 right now. By the way, 314-912-1019. And you can obviously send us notes on social media as well, but I'd love to hear your lovely voice here as well. Okay, President Biden on the campaign trail in Wisconsin, telling supporters there the new efforts of his administration to forgive student loan debt for over 30 million Americans. And this, of course, is after the Supreme Court ruled that he can't do that.
I will never stop to deliver student debt relief on hardworking Americans, and it's only in the interest of America that we do it. And again, it's for the good of our economy that's growing stronger and stronger, and it is. By freeing millions of Americans from this crushing debt of student debt, it means they can finally get on with their lives instead of their lives being put on hold.
Now, this plan would forgive up to $20,000 in interest for borrowers who are struggling. Senator Ted Cruz, you may be surprised to know, disagrees with this approach. He was on The Bottom Line with Dagan and Duffy, and here's part of what he had to say.
What Joe Biden is saying is to every steel worker, to every truck driver, to every construction worker, to every blue-collar worker, that the Democrats don't care about you, and they're going to take your money and they're going to give it to woke gender studies majors because their interest is trying to buy votes.
All right, so this new plan, and at least I think the president is trying to see if Congress will take this up. I don't know that they will. Otherwise, he'll try to put it in place on his own. It would allow forgiveness for people paying off undergraduate loans for 20 years and paying off graduate loans for 25 years. Of course, the Supreme Court saying if Congress passes it, that's one thing, but you can't just write it into place, which is still what he's trying to do. All right, Governor Mike Parson denies clemency for convicted double murderer Brian Dorsey. The 52-year-old Dorsey now scheduled to be executed this evening for killing his cousin and her husband near New Bloomfield in 2006. Okay, so here's the thing, is there are a variety of moving parts on this. The crime was a lot more grotesque than just that. Let me just put it that way. It is 5:52 in the morning, and I frankly just don't think this is the time to go into the details on that. One Supreme Court justice, former Supreme Court justice, says, hey, there were legal things to consider here as well. But the crime itself was particularly heinous. Dorsey's lawyers argue that he suffered from a drug-induced psychosis at the time. He was looking for money to pay off drug dealers. All right, last week, a drunk driver crashed into a DeKalb County Sheriff's Patrol cruiser in Illinois, and that killed Deputy Christina Musel. Today, that man accused in connection with her death, that man charged with reckless homicide and DUI, well, he's out of jail. The Illinois Sheriff's Association says the release of Nathan Sweeney before his trial is due to the SAFE-T Act, which, of course, Democrats passed in 2021, and Governor Pritzker signed into law. This is precisely what we were warning about, although what we're really concerned about are the people accused of even far more violent crimes. So it's not unusual for a DUI suspect to be released in particular, but one who's charged with reckless homicide and killing a law enforcement officer typically would stay behind bars in a lot of different ways. Okay, the eclipse was yesterday. We'll go into this a little more at 6:05 here. Google searches for information based on the phrases, my eyes hurt and why do my eyes hurt, spiked around 2:20 Central Time here. That's when, of course, the eclipse was maxing out and beginning to end. So right as the eclipse was at its peak or about to finish off still, Google searches for why do my eyes hurt and my eyes hurt, how do I deal with it, went up according to Google and spiked.
I'm not surprised, to be honest with you.
We don't need Google. I will answer the question for you. It's because you stared at the sun, dummy. Oh, my goodness. I saw somebody on social media yesterday. They said, I now live in a country where we have to remind people to not stare at the sun.
Yeah, that's hard to believe. And I have to admit, as the eclipse was kicking in, if you were trying to watch it without the glasses, you really couldn't see anything. It still looked like the sun and maybe a little dot somewhere.
Right.
And that was about it.
Right.
And even during the maximum point that we had here, which was just under 100%, you really honestly couldn't see without the glasses.
Right. And because I want to give his reaction to the eclipse here in a couple minutes anyway. But I did, like I said, I was going to sit on the porch, and I didn't have my decaf. I had my my nutrition thing I was doing, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, when's it going to get dark? It's not getting dark. It never got dark.
Yeah, it was more of a, from my estimation, it was a shade. And I was just outside the radio station here in Maryland Heights. And here it was about 98.5% also, I believe.
Right.
And it was, you could feel the temperature going down.
Yes.
And it did go down maybe 5 to 8 degrees. You could feel a breeze kicking in, and it looked like clouds had moved in. That's kind of what it looked like.
Yeah, that's the way that it was. I was in Richmond Heights, so obviously on the global scale, it's not like we had a big difference from where we are. But yeah, that's basically what it was where I was.
Yeah.
Is that it would be the same effect as if there was a cloud cover moved through.
Yeah.
And then moved on out. That was really.
But if you watch the coverage in Channel 4, I thought our news provider did a really nice job covering Carbondale, Cape, Sykeston, and these other towns where they had the totality of it, and you could see it go dark.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what happened in 2017.
That was impressive.
That was a whole different thing. But the birds didn't stop chirping or anything like that. It really, if I didn't have those glasses that your wife gave us and I was able to look up, I honestly would not have noticed if we didn't know that there was going to be an eclipse.
You want to hear something ironic? Kathy was out watching it, and she hears a neighbor cutting the lawn. Really? You're cutting the lawn during a solar eclipse? You're just out there just trimming bushes and cutting the lawn.
Well, the important thing is we all survived the eclipse. It was not a cataclysmic event. There was no apocalypse on the event. We're all here.
We're all here.
We survived it.
The rapture didn't happen.
Did not happen. No, it did not. All right, let's see here. Yeah, good time to do a quick sportsy thing here. Took an extra inning, but the Phillies did get the first win of the series with the Cardinals at Busch Stadium last night. Can I just point out that I really hate that extra innings rule where they put a guy on second base?
I despise it.
I hate that rule.
Yes.
The Redbirds did come from behind, scored 2 in the 9th inning to tie up the game up, but then they gave up the 2 runs in the 10th inning. Can we just call it like a run and a half? I think that's really what we need to call it. Final score was 5-3. Game 2 of the series is today at 6:45. But get this, Sonny Gray is going to be on the mound.
No kidding.
Yep, he's starting today. First start as a Cardinal.
All right.
So here we go. We'll see how he does. Hopefully really, really solid. So the Cardinals going to try to even up that series this afternoon and push for a rubber match on Wednesday.
Yeah. Don't expect a full game from the guy.
No.
My friend, death is certain. Are you prepared? Larry Connors here. I don't want to scare you, but your funeral plans are an important conversation you need to have with your spouse, family, other loved ones. My friend Benjamin Schaefer at Senior Memorial can help find you an affordable, final expense life insurance policy, regardless of your health condition. You could qualify up to $30,000 of lifetime coverage. Life insurance plans with Senior Memorial also offer living benefits towards hearing and diabetic supplies, access to a 24-hour teledoc service, discounts on urns, caskets, tombstones. Call my friend Benjamin at Senior Memorial and discover your legacy at 314-866-8886 or visit memorialplans.com. Memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
Attention farmers, is your material handling equipment coming up short in your operation? A JCB TM Series telescopic wheel loader from Sievers JCB can take your productivity to new heights. Bucket capacities range from 1 yard to 4 yards and lift heights up to 18 feet. Don't miss out on special short-term lease options and put JCB TM productivity to work on your farm for under $3,000 per month. To schedule your on-farm demo, call or visit SieversJCB.com today.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Speaking with Randy Tobler, Dr. Randy Tobler.
I think that it's gotten to the point where everyone has so much dirty laundry, where everyone just sort of covers and they don't want to really expose. They don't want to dig too deep. I won't get too close to your armpits and smell them if you don't get too close to mine, to put it in a very crude way. But I think that makes the point.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Doing an end run around the Supreme Court, President Biden has rolled out another student loan debt giveaway scheme. Mr. Biden made the announcement during a visit to Wisconsin. Republicans complain that Biden's scheme unfairly transfers student debt to taxpayers who didn't take out the loans. Crunch time this week for House Speaker Johnson as he decides if and how to funnel more money to Ukraine.
Johnson has promised lawmakers will take up Ukraine aid first thing this week as they return from their Easter recess. The White House asking for some $92 billion in aid, the lion's share for Ukraine and money also for Israel and defense of U.S. interests in the Indo-Pacific. But some conservative Republicans, most notably Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, opposed tens of billions of dollars in new aid for Ukraine, while little has been done to secure the U.S. southern border. Bob Agnew reporting.
Despite pressure from allies abroad, including from the U.S., Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is not backing down in his pledge to take the war on Hamas to the southern Gaza city of Rafah.
He declared it will happen. There's a date without elaborating. He spoke as Israeli negotiators are in Cairo discussing international efforts to broker a ceasefire deal with Hamas. Israel has insisted on sending troops into Rafah, saying the city on the Egyptian border is Hamas's last stronghold. However, this has raised international alarm over the fate of around 1.4 million Palestinians sheltering there, most of whom displaced from other parts of the Gaza Strip. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
A New York appeals court judge has turned down former President Trump's request to delay next week's start of the so-called hush money trial. The Trump team also failed to get a change of venue for the trial, which is to take place in Democrat-dominated Manhattan. On Wall Street, the Dow futures down 46 points, NASDAQ futures off 21. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Progressive asks, what do a late-night pizza craving,
Pizza place. Can I get one large pepperoni pizza?
a newly licensed teen delivery driver, a guaranteed delivery time or its free offer, and your front fence have in common?
Uh-oh.
That's my fence! They can turn your stomach upside down in under 30 minutes.
I'm still getting a tip, right?
Bundle your home and auto with Progressive for great savings and round-the-clock protection.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Partly sunny and mild today. There is just a slight chance of a shower, but most of today's rain will slide by to the south of St. Louis, up to 72 this afternoon. Tonight, rain still hanging to the south for the most part. Lots of clouds, though, 54 for a mild overnight low. Higher rain chances kicking in on Wednesday and lasting into Thursday, too. We're at 68 for the high Wednesday. Could see more than an inch of rain from Wednesday into Thursday. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Senior Memorial. Give Benjamin Schaefer a call at 314-866-8886 or visit memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
Tony Colombo here, along with Tim Jones for Rodney and Jen Wallner, the Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Rodney and Jen are the #1 home selling team in the area, and I could say that from personal experience. They sold our old home faster and for more money than we thought possible, which put us in a great position as we tried to find our perfect new home. And with help from the Wallners, that's exactly what we did. Christine and I couldn't be happier with our experience working with Rodney and Jen Wallner. And Tim, the numbers speak for themselves.
That's right, Tony. Everybody knows the Wallners sell 15 times more homes per year than the typical realtor. And if you're looking to sell your home, right now they have so many qualified buyers, they'll guarantee to obtain you an offer. They're licensed in both Missouri and Illinois, so no matter where you are in the St. Louis region, you can put the Wallner's experience and work ethic to work for you. If you've been thinking about selling your home, don't wait. Call Rodney and Jen Wallner now at 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD for the Wallner Home Selling Team.
No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here. Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com. Mike Ferguson.
I'm the world's heavyweight wrestling champion.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I'm Batman.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up.
I want to be clear, I'm not going nuts.
No.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Good morning to the people of St. Louis.
Well, guys.
Yeah.
We now live in a post-eclipse world.
You know, it all eclipsed my expectations.
It did, yes.
Where were you when the darkness fell?
Right. Well,
or at least the
it
shade
didn't fall where I was.
It was a shade where I was.
Oh my goodness! All right, yeah, because the post-eclipse world is pretty much like the pre-eclipse world.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
get
pretty,
to that here in a second.
Screwed up,
pretty much. Yeah, just as screwed up before.
Yeah,
and now as it was before.
Yeah. All right. Okay, 6:20. Let me just tell you what's ahead here, and I just put this note on Rumble here as well. Donald Trump decides what his position on abortion is, and I know people think I'm being snarky when I put it that way, when I frame it that way, but I'm not. Because remember, about a month ago, he said, I'll decide what my position on abortion is and announce it at some point. Well, he did that yesterday. So I've got a couple of those clips from him. Let me know what you think. Let's talk about that around 6:20. This is one of those days where, you know what, I'm asking you to be a part of the actual audible conversation. 314-912-1019. Because there are a couple layers of different questions here. We'll get into this a little bit deeper at 6:20, Gabe. You know, one is obviously, pro-life versus pro-choice. Then you've got okay, here's what the Dobbs decision said. It sends it back to the states, and that was a lot of what Trump is basing his statement on. But then it comes down to this. Is his position good enough for you if you are pro-life? And I am seeing a lot of disagreement on that.
Oh, yeah.
So 6:20. Here's the deal. You're pro-life. You can agree with him or disagree with him, or agree with Gabe or disagree with Gabe, or agree with Stell or disagree with Stell, or agree with me or disagree with me. But our side is the side that's not afraid to actually have the discussion in public.
That's a good point.
So let's do that. We'll start that around 6:20 or so. And I'm just going to warn you right now, somebody's probably going to say something on the show that you may not agree with.
Yes.
Are we grown up enough to handle that?
I am.
Yes.
I think.
But 6:20.
Check with my mom.
So let's do that. Okay, by the way, real quick here, just a couple things. I played a couple of those sound bites right there in the news dump. Joe Biden banking on the student loan issue to win back young voters, young leftists who are kind of mad at him over he's not outwardly pro-Hamas enough. Listen, to you young leftists, he is pro-Hamas.
Absolutely.
So he is finding a way to abandon Israel. If you're patient, he will give you what you want, and he will stick Israel in the back. But the student loan thing is the candy that he keeps wanting to offer. And I know that he's trying to get Democrats in Congress to move on an actual bill, which shows that he at least recognizes the Supreme Court's ruling on this.
Sort of.
But he's also trying to put this in through an executive action as well, which is exactly what the Supreme Court said. Remember, the Supreme Court did not say that it's illegal to cancel student loans.
Right.
Or student loan debt. That's not what they said. They said you just can't do the stroke of the pen law of the land thing. It actually has to be approved by Congress.
Right.
Because that's all they said.
Congress has the power of the purse. And that was the assertion of the court, which is, how the Constitution is set up. But Biden has basically just turned the United States Treasury into his personal bribery, fund, and he's been trying to bribe all the young people with the votes to vote for him to the tune of billions of dollars at this point.
Well, it succeeded in 2022.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the way Democrats run the ship.
Which worked.
Yeah, sure
in
did.
The last election cycle, it worked.
Sure did.
So that's one of the things that I want to caution everybody who's in the libertarian sphere, the conservative sphere, the free market sphere, and because we get really indignant, and rightfully so, about this is just a vote buying scheme. This is just transferring the debt to other people, which is all true.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, when the election comes, it works.
Yeah.
So you better be able to make the case that says, no, here's why you should oppose this.
Right.
Because right now you've got a very young crop of voters, and I say young, I mean 30 and under, who are looking at the student loan debt, and they're like, I worked hard for this degree in gender studies. I worked hard for this social justice degree. And it's not fair that I have $80,000 in debt.
Right.
By the way, SLU now has a social justice degree. Just so you know, they have an
seriously?
entire department you can get. They have a department of like social justice over there now. It's on the building and everything.
Defund public universities.
Yes. Well, SLU's not public though.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
but,
you're right. Mm-hmm.
But yes.
No more donations from me.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go.
No.
And so so these, when somebody says, "Hey, vote for me," and I'll take $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 of debt off your shoulder, your credit score immediately goes up. If you were paying on your student loan, you suddenly have $300, $400, $500, $600, $700 a month in additional revenue and income. Yeah, you better believe there's a lot of people who go, sounds good to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so don't underestimate the tactics and the strategy there. We can talk about the morality and the ethics of it, and we're right, but the Biden administration, and I should say the campaign, they could very well be right about this is a successful vote buying thing. And so if you walk up to somebody who's 27 and you say, this is just trying to buy your vote, you know what they're likely to tell you?
It worked.
It's for sale.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
Yeah. And thanks for paying for the vote.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that's at. I mean, again, remember, you two things can be right at the same time, can be true at the same time. We're right.
Mm-hmm. And
they could absolutely win with this.
Yeah, they totally can. Now, I think we need to remind everybody though who's gotten their extra, $400, $500, $600 a month based on that loan payment to remind them that because of the Biden administration's printing of money in all of their policies, their household expense went up 1,000.
Right.
So
right.
They're still underwater.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last check is that it's an additional $1,100 a month.
Yeah.
Is the average increase in the cost of living
Mm-hmm.
in this country, particularly here in the Midwest. So about $1,100 a month. But congratulations, you were let out of your $450 a month payment.
Yep.
So
exactly. So it's like, hey guys, by the way, you're still behind, and it's still this guy's fault.
Yeah. All right.
He stole $1,000 from you and then gave you a check for $400, and he expects you to be grateful.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Rebecca points out, she says SLU's had the social justice huge lit up sign on their university building for over a decade. It was there meaning Rebecca, when she was there. When she lived in St. Louis County, and she moved away in 2015.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's been there for a long time. Okay, real quick, Eclipse. Was I the only one that was like, yeah, that was it?
A little.
Yeah.
I think part of the thing is there was such a hype train behind it ahead of time, and everybody was talking about it, and across the country people were saying, oh, this is what you're gonna do, and this it's like, make sure not to do this. There was so much hype behind it. I think it set it up for failure if you weren't in the path of the totality.
Right.
Yeah.
And hundreds of thousands of people jammed I-55 and a couple other highways, and basically you've got the highway patrol and all the county sheriffs on both sides of the state line going, come on, people.
Come on.
But I was on my porch, like I said I was going to, and I'm just kind of sitting there and doing some stuff for the show and doing emails. And, my wife was in a meeting in the other room. And I just, if it weren't for those glasses, the sunglasses that Kathy got for us, Dell's wife got for us, I could look up and I saw, the eclipse happening, and, loaned it to my neighbors who were actually doing the thing on the not a shoebox, but like a piece of paper or whatever. And I said, well, here, you can take a look at that. And they were like, oh, that's really cool. And then they went back inside.
Yeah.
Because they saw it.
Yeah.
But just sitting on my porch, if I did not know that there was a big eclipse, I would not have noticed anything was different other than, it got a little shady, a little cloudy for a second. That's really all the change was.
And it cooled down.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it did. And I would have had to have been looking for that because I don't even know if I would have noticed that if I hadn't been looking for it.
Definitely, for me, I thought it was pretty cool. I don't know how you thought about it, Gabe, but like you said, if you weren't in the totality area, it probably didn't hit you as strongly. But still, I thought it was a pretty meaningful event, especially looking at it from a spiritual perspective. I thought, you know what, the heavens declare the glory of God, and I'm looking at this thing, the way he set it up, and to think that it worked out that way, it's impossible to look at that and I realize, there's a hand of creation that rules the universe, and if you don't want to accept that, that's fine. But I'm willing to accept that.
Yeah, one of the interesting things about it that I saw was this is the first time I saw it where basically we had a crescent sun instead of crescent moon.
Right.
And it was kind of it was a sizable sliver, but just a sliver of light, and it made its way from sort of the left side on the top all the way around to the right side, and I just watching it sort of transit as the moon was moving around. That was neat. It was neat to see. Like you said though, it's not as impressive as totality. I think the 2017 one
mostly totality hit here.
Yeah, and that's the one we saw. We were out at our friend's ranch, and we saw the diamond ring and everything. You know what I mean? So it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I was in the Central West End when that one happened.
That one was quite amazing, actually.
But get this, I don't know if I think you were still coming in the building when I was reading the news a little bit ago. Google says that right as the eclipse was kind of maxed out.
Yeah.
On the searches for phrases that say "my eyes hurt" spiked.
Gosh,
on Google.
Okay, I have a story.
Okay,
a neighbor across the street. Well, I don't think he actually lives there. He may be a friend of the neighbor, but he was standing out in the driveway and he was on the phone. He had regular sunglasses on, and as I'm actually doing stuff around the house too at the time. And I come out just in time for him to say, "Yeah, I'm staring at it right now." And I look up, and he's just got regular sunglasses on, looking at the freaking sun while he's on the cell phone. And then he kind of takes off. For a split second, I thought, please don't go blind doing that. But then I was like, I don't know. This is Darwinism at work. Let it happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's like. It's 2024. We have to tell you not to stare at the sun.
Yeah, seriously. It's the sun.
Oh my goodness.
It's still the sun.
It's still the sun. But it's amazing when that little tiny sliver. When I look through the glasses, the actual eclipse glasses, up there, that little tiny sliver, it was still broad daylight.
Oh gosh, yes.
So 98.5% of the sun was blocked.
Still a lot of light.
It still was broad daylight in my house. Nothing got dark out there. So
I saw some extra shadows, basically.
I was telling Mike before you got in, Gabe, that Kathy was out watching it, and there's a neighbor cutting the lawn and trimming the bushes. You've got a solar eclipse going on right above you, and you're just
what's going on here?
Yeah, just checking things out.
Now, to be fair, the bushes needed cutting.
All right, the number here is 314-912-1019. My least favorite thing to talk about in talk radio, abortion. So Donald Trump decides what his position is. So I've got a couple of the clips from his statement. It was about a 4.5-minute statement that he made. I think I've got the clips that basically capture the bulk and kind of the meat of what he said. Here's my question. There's two questions, really. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And is it good enough for you if you are pro-life? Let's talk about that right around 6:21 here on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your cousin. Get up.
The weight
is over. Capriati's is now open. Taste extraordinary with our one-of-a-kind sandwiches, like our award-winning Bobby with hand-pulled butterball turkey and stuffing, our roast beef with hand-sliced American Wagyu beef from Snake River Farms, or our crowd-favorite classic cheesesteaks with your choice of grilled steak or chicken. No matter which you choose, you'll always get Capriati's high-quality ingredients. Capriati's. Eat extraordinary. Order now at capriatis.com or on the app.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Jewels on Hampton and St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks and sports memorabilia and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa, and jewelsonhampton.com. Call them at 314-752-5000, 314-752-5000, and jewelsonhampton.com. Jewels on Hampton.
Springtime in St. Louis, and if you hate to paint, do what your neighbor Mr. Rob Miller from Harvesttown Auto Body in St. Peters did. He called Rhino Shield. Rob, what was the thought process for going with Rhino Shield as a business owner?
My family's business is over 10,000 square feet, and it did not have the curb appeal I wanted.
Rob, tell everyone how the experience was with Rhino Shield from start to finish.
The process that I liked was when you came out, you gave me all of these options that would fit my building. Our building was really faded. I don't want to have to paint my building again. 25 years is a long time to not have to worry about the outside maintenance of your building as far as paint. That's a no-brainer. That's why Rhino Shield worked for me.
Are your neighbors jealous?
I would be if I was them.
Thanks, Rob. Now it's time to call 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Genius.
No paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Speaker Tim Jones here. Make sure you listen to the Tim Jones and Chris Harp Show every day from 4 to 6 p.m. But right now, let's get back to our early morning media mogul, Mike Ferguson, in the morning.
All right, Donald Trump decides what his position on abortion is, at least for this election cycle.
Yes.
And I, listen, I'm truly not being snarky when I say that because he made it very clear I've got to figure out what my position is. He said that about a month ago, so yesterday he announced it. So here's my question. There's obviously, do you agree, do you disagree? And for those who are pro-life, for those who are Republican, is this good enough for you? We're going to give our reactions here, but I want to know what you think. 314-912-1019. This is one of those days to get involved in the conversation. You know it is. I mean, you can obviously send us the notes on social media. Gabe, you got Facebook and Twitter covered.
Mm-hmm.
I'll watch Rumble chat box here as well, but use the phone. Let's talk here. We'll do this a couple times today. I want to give you plenty of time to get involved here. By the way, while the Biden administration looks for ways to limit our access to energy,
yes, constantly.
Other leftists want to centralize how that energy is delivered. They call it the smart grid.
Oh, no, we're back to this.
We're back to this. So
okay.
Find out what that could mean to you. We're going to have that conversation at 6:35.
Yes.
All right, Donald Trump decides what his position is. Again, here's my question. If you're pro-life, is this good enough? Here's part of his announcement. You can easily find the whole video. It's like 4 minutes and something, 4:30, 4:40, something like that. You can find it on the social media platforms. Here's one clip from what he said, basically encapsulating where he stands on abortion right now.
My view is now that we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal standpoint, the states will determine by vote or legislation or perhaps both, and whatever they decide must be the law of the land. In this case, the law of the state.
Okay, I've got a little more of a detailed clip here in a second, but just at that point,
that's the right answer.
He's essentially saying what the Dobbs ruling decided.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that the judicial rulings that declared abortion a right, which was never legislatively passed by anybody in Congress, that it goes to the states and it's a state's issue. So that part of his clip, constitutionally, that's correct.
Yes.
I have no problem with it.
Yeah,
I totally agree. I don't know how Gabe feels, but I'm on board.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely, because the Constitution is what the Constitution is.
Right.
You can't use your druthers to say, okay, this is how our government should be set up.
Right.
So our government is set up in such a way that these life and death issues are comes down to the states. So it is what it is.
Had he stopped there,
oh gosh, we'd be done.
I think we would have mentioned it and probably moved on.
Yeah, we wouldn't be talking about it.
Right. Okay. So here's where here's what's not setting well with some of the people in the pro-life movement. Here's another clip of this particular statement, which, by the way, he started off talking about in vitro fertilization for like a minute and 15 seconds, which I'm like, is there a big argument over in vitro fertilization?
Actually, there is.
Depending on who you listen to,
yeah.
IVF has been showing up a lot.
Yeah, I think there are some state laws where it's become, like, I think there was one.
Alabama.
Was it Alabama?
Yeah.
Where it became a thing. And that brought it into the national conversation to muddy the waters. Thank you very much.
Right.
All right, and there we go.
Yeah, but anyway, when it comes back to abortion, this is where he had the opportunity to basically say, hey, here are my pro-life creds, but here's the direction that he took instead. Tell me what you think.
Many states will be different. Many will have a different number of weeks, or some will have more conservative than others, and that's what they will be. At the end of the day, this is all about the will of the people. You must follow your heart, or in many cases, your religion or your faith. Do what's right for your family and do what's right for yourself. Do what's right for your children. Do what's right for our country and vote. So important to vote. At the end of the day, it's all about will of the people. That's where we are right now, and that's what we want, the will of the people.
Okay, and that's where he, I would say, lost a lot of pro-life, some of the higher profile pro-life activists on this, relativism. It's, do what's right for you, follow your heart. It's all about the will of the people.
Well, and the thing is, for pro-life folks, this is a human rights issue.
Right.
So the thing is, maybe at one point the will of the people was behind slavery.
It actually was an eerily similar argument. Yeah.
Right. So we don't like those arguments. It's like, okay, well, human rights are subject to the will of the people. We don't like those things.
Right.
So when he used that language, that terminology, he lost a lot of support, I think.
Again, I have no problem with it. I'm just being honest. From my perspective, the way the nation is set up, we have essentially 50 different nations, and each one gets to decide what's best for them. All right, that was one of the issues that we were trying to deal with to get Dobbs overturned. Was it not, to give it back to the states? So
that was the lawsuit. The lawsuit was, this is a states' rights issue,
and I'm okay with that.
Right. And the first clip, that's exactly what he said.
Well, I think what's at issue for me is that he says at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a reference to what the final, kernel of the argument actually comes down to. It's, to me, there are two arguments on the table. There's one about federalism, and then there's another about what's right and wrong.
Right.
And how we're supposed to adjudicate that at the state level. What I would have preferred him to say was, what he said originally about, this is a states' right issue. And then it's like, if we want to move the pro-life football forward, here's how you do it. Because the thing is, when you do the whole appeal to follow your heart thing, you're not saying the right and wrong of it is here, and I want people to move here. You know what I'm saying? I think he punted. He punted on the pro-life issue.
Yeah. I think if folks look at it as trying to move the football down the field, hey, if you live in New York State and you disagree with killing babies after they're born, and they're going to continue to do that, if it were me, I'm moving out of the state. And a lot of people are moving out of that state. If they're going to do that in Illinois, I'm moving out of the state. If they started doing that in Missouri, you bet I would start thinking about, I'm moving out of the state. And that's my perspective on it. If you want to play that game of staying in a state like that where they're killing babies even up after their birth, then
what state allows that?
New York.
It does not allow
It does too.
It does not.
They cheered it in the chambers. Schumer and Pelosi and all those folks cheered in the chamber when that
that's
rule
in
was passed.
Washington. That's in Washington.
No, it was in New York State and Albany. I watched the video.
Yeah, it's
fine. If you disagree, that's okay.
We got just got to be accurate, on those things. Okay, real quick statement here. Lila Rose from Live Action. It's a really long one. I'm not going to read the whole thing.
Okay.
She says, killing babies is always wrong. President Trump is not a pro-life candidate. He's far less pro-abortion than Biden, but he supports killing some preborn children and will even make that his position in attempt to get pro-abortion votes. She goes on to write, Mario Cuomo was infamous for popularizing the framework of being personally pro-life but politically pro-choice. Again, this is Lila Rose writing. Former President Trump has taken this one step further by refusing to acknowledge the federal government's role in protecting life and by saying it should be left only to the states. And then she actually mistakenly says, while also saying he is undecided on how he will vote in November's abortion ballot question in Florida, which would allow the killing of children via abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy. Now, she goes on to correct herself and says he just hasn't commented.
Okay, yeah. He hasn't commented
So,
on the Florida law. Yeah,
but she goes on to say President Trump tells voters to follow their heart on the issue, yet he doesn't know how he plans to vote. Of course, she goes on to say that. Now, here's the other thing where, remember, Donald Trump, when Ron DeSantis was still in the race, he slammed Florida for passing
the heartbeat
bill.
Right.
He said it was a terrible thing at that point. Well, now it's a states' rights thing. So I'm glad he at least came that far to the conclusion that he's at. But you can't be surprised when there are pro-life people who say we wanted more. At the very least, it's a states' rights issue, but we need to win over the country for 50 cultures of life in this country. And his answer was follow your heart. So if you're pro-life, is that good enough? That's the question.
Yeah, one of the things that I had a problem with a lot of the discussions online with the pro-life people was they were going after the constitutional argument too.
Right.
So to me, I was watching the conversation flow on social media, and I was mad at everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I was mad about I think the punt I think that I saw out of Donald Trump on this issue, and I was mad about the pro-life people abandoning the argument that we used to dismantle Roe to begin with. That is the thing that we've been arguing against Roe from the start.
Well, Roe should have been overturning Roe should have been the first or the next step, not the finish line.
Right. And for a while there, the pro-life movement seemed to accept that. Okay, now the fight is in all 50 states.
Right.
But now there's this suggestion of, well, we need a federal law now, in spite of the fact that we just said the federal government should be out of it. So I don't like that intellectual turn that's been happening in the pro-life movement, and I don't like I said, the punt from the Trump administration. But what I will say though is Trump is the most movable candidate on that issue, because he is between Biden and Trump, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So at the very least, kind of like as who was that said the comment? That was Lila Rose.
Oh, Lila Rose.
Yeah, at least what Lila Rose did say. Well, he's the least pro-choice,
she said he's less pro-abortion,
than Biden.
Than Biden.
Yeah, so that's kind of the saving grace here. I say with kind of rolled eyes. But ultimately, I hate this. I'm growing to hate talking about this issue as much as you do.
I do.
Partially because I think we're becoming so far apart on it for no good reason. I don't see the reason why those of us who are pro-life are starting to fracture as much as we are, when this is the time when we should be the most united.
Right. But to that point, and 314-912-1019, we're going to talk to Jason Isaac here in just a minute or so, but we are going to come back to this. If you are a Republican and you say, I want a Republican Party that's pro-life, but you don't have a pro-life nominee, how do you keep your party pro-life? Now, at the same time, Dobbs was overturned because of the pro-life justices he put on the Supreme Court. Let's be fair.
Mm-hmm.
There as well. So the reality is Donald Trump is not ideological on this. He just doesn't appear to have a real strong opinion on abortion one way or the other. That's why he goes, well, follow your heart, whatever you think. Well, that's a life and death issue. We know
literally
that.
so.
Literally, it's a life and death issue. All right, we'll come back around to this. Smart grids. The left loves to call them smart grids. Just concentrate the operations into one place. It'll be fine. Get the update on that just ahead. But yeah, go ahead and send us your comments on this as well. We have to come back to this later today, guys.
Yeah.
I know.
Sadly.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning. Columbo and Katie.
Donald Trump just released a statement laying out his beliefs on the abortion issue, and it's unsurprisingly divided many Republicans. We'll discuss what he said and the reactions to it Tuesday, plus Crane Durham at 2:20.
Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Partly sunny and mild today. There is just a slight chance of a shower, but most of today's rain will slide by to the south of St. Louis, up to 72 this afternoon. Tonight, rain still hanging to the south for the most part. Lots of clouds, though, 54 for a mild overnight low. Higher rain chances kicking in on Wednesday and lasting into Thursday, too. We're at 68 for the high Wednesday. Could see more than an inch of rain from Wednesday into Thursday. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Kickstart your spring with spring into green savings on a John Deere compact tractor at Seidenstricker Nobe Partners. For a limited time, we have 0% financing for 84 months with zero down on select models. Plus, when you purchase an in-stock model year 23 compact tractor, you'll save up to an additional $2,500. Take home the tractor of your dreams today. Visit snpartners.com for more information.
Offer valid through 4/26/2024. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Tim Jones here. The anniversary of last year's April 15th hailstorm rapidly approaching. Let my friends at Eureka Contracting and Roofing inspect your roof for storm damage prior to the one-year insurance deadline. They'll evaluate your damage to determine if the loss is insurable. If it is, they'll walk you through the entire insurance claim process just like they did for us. Your only out-of-pocket cost will be your deductible. Plus, having your roof inspected before the spring storm season will give you peace of mind before the next big storm hits. Call Eureka Contracting and Roofing, 636-938-ROOF, 636-938-ROOF, eurekacontracting.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Hey, it's Tony Colombo with a great offer from the cleaning pros at Zero Res. So many of us are suffering from allergies right now. It's time to get your home clean and healthy, and Zero Res is here to help. Book a cleaning in April and mention the Colombo special, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129, plus you can take $50 off your air duct cleaning. Get the jump on spring cleaning now. Just mention the Colombo special when you call 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
News, analysis, opinion.
If we don't talk about it, how are we going to fix it?
Our democracy is under attack and we're too busy fighting.
101.9 and 94.1.
Politicians aren't working for us anymore.
It's going to be a long election year.
News Talk STL.
Dan Bongino here. Keep it on News Talk STL because my show starts at 11 a.m. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, whatever it is, you cannot get away from the topic of energy. You cannot get away from energy security. And there are all kinds of views of that and all kinds of critiques, particularly of what's being offered on the left, which people say is taking away our energy security and possibly access to the energy that every single one of us needs every day. Is that actually the truth? Well, Maybe. Let's talk about that. I'm Mike Ferguson. Jason Isaac is the CEO of the American Energy Institute. And Jason, thanks for being on the program. As part of the presidential campaign, Robert F. Kennedy, he says that we should be putting together a smart grid, a national smart grid. He's not the first one to say it. There have been others to say it. And I'm frankly not that convinced that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to be that relevant to the presidential race. But either way, his take on some of the energy issues is something that you hear from others, particularly on the left. And when you hear somebody say, you know what we need? We need a national smart grid, which to me says a centralized control of it. How do you assess what that proposal actually would mean to us?
Well, it'd be a continuation of what we've been getting over the last few years with this incredible growth in unreliable variable generation. I'm in Texas, and we saw firsthand that it doesn't produce when you need it. In 2021, you had hundreds of people that literally froze to death in their homes or died from carbon monoxide poisoning because they were burning things in their homes to try to stay warm during an unprecedented cold spell. And what was wind and solar doing? It was, oh gosh, less than 8% of electric generation during the entire week, but it was 33% of the installed capacity of our grid. And RFK and the current office holder of the President of the United States wants to nationalize our grid and have us become more dependent on these unreliable and undependable forms of electric generation. And as we've done this throughout the country, our costs are skyrocketing. Costs for electricity are up 25% in the nation, and that's bad for industry. Industry needs a lot of power. Flipping on the switch in your homes to turn on a light doesn't take a lot of electricity, but powering an arc furnace to melt steel, requires a ton of electricity, and we're just not going to get it from these unreliable alternative sources of energy that are being pushed down our throats.
What we're hearing from those on the left, the Biden administration, and a bunch of activist groups, Jason, is, well, we have to transition to renewable energy. We need to transition to green energy, with the implication that we're going to be able to meet the needs, but we just have to get the technology up there. And in the meantime, let's just push the issue and make us adapt to what's available now. What would that result in for all of us?
Right, a lot higher cost. You're having a big increase we saw from 2021 to 2022, 30% increase in people getting their electricity disconnected, a 76% increase in people getting their natural gas disconnected, turned off. It's really tough to cook and heat your homes or cool your homes if you don't have the utilities that you depend on. And that's what we would continue to expect. It's this energy transition as a political agenda. Decarbonization is a political agenda. It is really meant to separate you from your food, your fuel, and your money. And it's working really well. And Americans need to step up and say, what does decarbonization do? What does that benefit? Because I've run the numbers. I look at the models that are being used to justify the Paris Accord, and it doesn't do anything to mitigate a changing climate if we reach net zero by any date. The CO2 that the climate cult is fascinated with has really become their Kool-Aid, and the result is the same. If you drink it or embrace it, it's death. But it's a trace gas in our atmosphere. It's 0.04% of our atmosphere. And as man has contributed a little bit more to the atmosphere, our planet is responding and it's greening. We're producing more food. We're losing deserts. I love the study that deserts are turning green because of increased concentrations of CO2. And it's like, what's the bumper stickers going to say now? Save the deserts? I mean, these are good things that are happening, not only the prosperity that we're experiencing that we really take for granted in this country.
Okay, so let me touch on that right there. I mean, because obviously, deserts that are greening, an anthropologist would tell you, okay, well, that just means more food and more water on the planet for a lot of people, more flourishing. But the argument being that, well, it's an environmentally destructive path that we're on, and we have to make the hard decisions now to divert away from that in order to have a more sustainable planet. And you mentioned the climate cultist, the environmental activist on that. I'm hearing you say they're wrong on the policy, obviously. But I'm also hearing you say they're wrong on the foundational beliefs and that this is more political control than it is actually saving the environment.
Yeah, that's correct. They'll tell you that we're living in a catastrophic climate crisis, but you look over the last 100 years, there's been a 99% reduction in deaths from weather-related events, and that's why our population has quadrupled. If you just look over the last couple of decades, we'll see the strength and severity of storms is decreasing. Sure, the costs are increasing because people are building along coastlines where hurricanes hit, and the cost of building those structures, like the Obama place on the eastern coast, is very, very expensive. And so when it gets damaged from a storm, the cost will increase, but the strength and severity of those storms is not increasing. So they're not rooted in science, facts, or math. But when you start to look at the cost benefit analysis of some of these proposals, there's no benefit and it's all costs.
We are visiting with American Energy Institute CEO Jason Isaac. Okay, so the last few minutes we've got here, let's talk about what we should be doing. We can't control what India does. We can't control what China does. We can't control what any of these other countries do. But here in the U.S., if we want to make sure that we've got the access to the energy that we need in a way that's not going to, do any damage to any local communities or anything like that, what are the policy changes that need to be enacted now, whether it's, oil, petroleum, natural gas, or renewable or anything else? I mean, what's the smart way to move from this point on in the future?
Well, it's really going to take a change of the administration. So November 5th could be the smart move, and we'll see what country, direction the country wants to go in. Do we want economic prosperity? Do we want lower cost of energy? And yes, I represent companies that produce American energy and advocate for policies that would actually reduce the cost of energy. And there aren't many major oil and gas companies that want to see energy costs reduced, but I actually advocate for those policies that would do that because it would help the least among us by having affordable, reliable energy. We need to be building more pipelines. We need to be building, and we need the Biden administration to stop its pause on over a dozen LNG, liquefied natural gas export terminals. We produce gas and oil and coal and nuclear energy in this country more responsibly than anywhere else on the planet. We need to be exporting that around the world to make our friends and our allies become wealthy, to lift them out of poverty. Today, women will spend 200 million hours walking to collect water because they don't have access to affordable, reliable energy. They'll spend another hour walking to collect things to burn, to heat up that water to make it somewhat potable. And this is really inhumane. They're going to be using animal dung and wood and other forms of biomass that aren't clean cooking fuels like propane and natural gas. So we need to be producing more of that and getting it around to our friends. It'll help our economic prosperity, and then it'll clean their air like we've experienced here in the United States. We've reduced pollution nearly 80% over the last 5 decades. It's nearly indistinguishable from natural levels. And during that same time, we've become number one in access to clean and safe drinking water, and it's all powered by American energy.
Okay, so at this point, people just need to have more information put in front of them. There needs to be a change in the narrative. I know you all have a lot of resources on that, including from the companies that you acknowledge that you're representing. But if people want to be in touch with the American Energy Institute, they want to find the materials, maybe read the data for themselves, what's the way to do that and find what you all do, or just be in touch with any questions?
Yeah, great. AmericanEnergyInstitute.com, or you can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Isaac for Energy.
All right. Once again, Jason Isaac, American Energy Institute. Appreciate you being on the program, because we're all feeling the cost of a lot of these policy decisions. And I think people are being told, but it's for our good. And, well, looks like it may not be. It's more political than anything else. So I appreciate you hitting these things head on, man.
Great to be on. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Look forward to joining you again.
And of course, Jason, appreciate the time. All right. Keep in mind, I don't have to remind anybody here in Newstalk STL Nation about this, but the first thing the Biden administration did, pretty much literally once he went into the White House, was shut down the Keystone XL pipeline project. And we are feeling the residual effects of that on our entire energy sector ever since. And, I'll agree with what Jason was saying, is that I'm now convinced that this is not an environmental cause. This is, sure, for the stupid college kid who's running around and yelling, there's no planet B and all that kind of stuff. But at this point, it really is about complete economic and other control of all of us. If you have that smart grid that so many on the left want to see, that centralized grid, that is one switch on and off if they really want to control people. So that's what I think we have to worry about, which is why I think he's right. And obviously the hard left, as usual, is wrong. What do you think? 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Louis's new choice for conservative talk. Live and local.
I need to know what's going on in my city.
News Talk STL.
I'm always glad to have new sponsors, but I have turned some down. See, I only endorse clients if I believe in them. And I've been a spokesman for John Beal for 10 years. Through those years, listeners said they went with John Beal because they trusted me. And just recently, a woman named Mary wrote, "We got a John Beal roof based on your recommendation." Thank you, Mary, and all the others for calling John Beal. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
Hey there, heroes. Ready to unleash your inner superhero and support our first responders? Join us as a volunteer on April 12th for an unforgettable trivia night hosted by the David Dorn Foundation. Imagine yourself proudly sporting a Dorn Foundation t-shirt, standing side by side with our brave first responders. It's more than just trivia. It's your chance to be part of the Dorn Foundation community. Show our first responders some serious love as a volunteer and snag that exclusive t-shirt. Visit dornfoundation.com.
Katie here, and I'd like to talk to you guys about Michael's Flooring Outlet. You could gain peace of mind with Michael's Flooring Outlet for your flooring and carpet installation needs. Their team of experts ensures that the job is done right the first time, providing you with attentive and a personalized service. Just like my parents, you can trust them to replace your old carpet with beautiful hardwood flooring. Visit one of their 3 locations in Dardenne Prairie, St. Peters, or Creve Coeur, or check them out at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Caring for a loved one is stressful. It's an emotional time, and we want our loved ones to get the quality of care they deserve. But the cost of long-term care is expensive. In the St. Louis area, it could be $60,000, $70,000, or even over $100,000. Can your savings handle this added expense? Fortunately, News Talk STL listeners have an expert right here. Financial strategist Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management shows families tax-efficient strategies to fund care needs. Whether planning in advance, have health concerns, or living in a care community today, solutions exist to fund the quality of care you deserve.
Hi, I'm Chris Cooper, and I'd love to send you a free copy of my new book. You'll learn about strategies to empower you and your family, protect your savings, and make sure your loved ones get the quality of care they deserve.
Visit SerenityLTC.com. That's SerenityLTC.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Alphi LLC, SEC registered investment advisor. Insurance and education services offered through Serenity Wealth Management.
Hey, Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros. When Christine and I bought our new house, we knew the gutters were an issue, and after meeting the Gutter Pros team, we knew that they were right for us. Gutter Pros is your all-in-one gutter service team that offers a variety of affordable solutions, and they even offer free estimates, so there's no cost to you to find out if they are right for your home, just like they were for ours. If you're having a problem with your gutters, contact the Gutter Pros now, because with Gutter Pros, water goes where they tell it to. Call them at 314-656-7195 or visit gutterpros.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Love the music you hear on the morning show? Check out Mike's morning music playlist at newstalkstl.com.
Now that she's back in the atmosphere with drops of Jupiter in her head.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out.
You know, I mean, they got all the news.
The morning news dump.
All right, President Biden seems to think the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling is nothing to worry about. Don't worry about that.
No big.
All right. Law enforcement in Illinois is highlighting the consequences of the left's pro-criminal laws. This one might make your blood boil just a little bit. And the Cardinals are trying for their 3rd straight series win.
All right.
They've had 3 series so far. They've won 2 of them.
Let's go.
Let's go. That's right. All right, let's start with this whole student loan thing here. President Biden on the campaign trail in Wisconsin yesterday telling supporters about his new efforts to forgive student loan debt for over 30 million Americans, or at least part of the student loan debt. And this, of course, was after the Supreme Court ruled that the administration, can't do that.
I will never stop to deliver student debt relief on hardworking Americans, and it's only in the interest of America that we do it. And again, it's for the good of our economy that's growing stronger and stronger, and it is. By freeing millions of Americans from this crushing debt of student debt, it means they can finally get on with their lives instead of their lives being put on hold.
Okay, so the new plan, which I think is his third now, Gabe, I think it is, that he's on. Yeah, this would forgive up to $20,000 in interest for struggling borrowers. Now, you know who disagrees with this?
Who?
Ted Cruz.
Oh, I would think so.
You would think so. He was on The Bottom Line with Dagan and Duffy. Here's part of what he had to say.
What Joe Biden is saying is to every steel worker, to every truck driver, to every construction worker, to every blue-collar worker, that the Democrats don't care about you, and they're going to take your money and they're going to give it to woke gender studies majors because their interest is trying to buy votes.
So he's trying to forgive interest, which honestly, that is kind of an interesting angle as to whether or not that would have been covered by the Supreme Court ruling, whether it's just interest versus principal. But it would also allow forgiveness for people paying off undergrad loans for 20 years, graduate loans for 25 years.
Oh, wow.
So they would have spent a lot more than the actual loan itself, but it's the interest. So basically, you forgive the interest and you eliminate the debt.
Right. Yeah, you do a retroactive interest forgiveness, yeah.
So for 30 million, though, that's going to include a lot of people currently paying on recent ones as well.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk about this in more depth. Let's do this around 7:20. Donald Trump announcing his stance on abortion. That was done on social media. About a 4-minute video, but this is part of what he said. This is kind of the crux of his official policy position.
My view is now that we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal standpoint, the states will determine by vote or legislation or perhaps both, and whatever they decide must be the law of the land. In this case, the law of the state.
Okay, so right around 7:20. Let's start that conversation back up. All right. Last week, a drunk driver crashed into a DeKalb County, Illinois Sheriff's Patrol cruiser. That killed Deputy Christina Musel. Today, as of right now, the man accused in connection with her death and the man who's charged with reckless homicide and DUI is out of jail. Yeah, the Illinois Sheriff's Association put out a statement, and they say the release of Nathan Sweeney before his trial is due to the provisions of the SAFE-T Act, which Democrats passed in 2021 and Governor Pritzker signed into law.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, the safety. We were talking about that, how safety is very much a sort of Orwellian description of the bill and that it would cause more harm. And here we are.
Yep. All right, took an extra inning, but the Phillies beat the Cardinals in Game 1 of their series at Busch Stadium. Final score there was 5-3. Game 2 of that series is today at 6:45. Sonny Gray going to be on the mound for the first time as a St. Louis Cardinal gets his first start today. Let's see how he does.
Hi, Sean Long from STL Fenceworks. A new fence or deck is an investment in your home and your lifestyle. But how do you ensure that you're getting the most out of that investment? At STL Fenceworks, we know the key is satisfaction. Satisfaction means getting a fence or deck that not only meets your needs, but exceeds your expectations. Satisfaction means working with a team that cares about your project as much as you do. Satisfaction means having confidence in the quality of your new fence or deck, knowing that it was built with the best of materials and workmanship. STL Fenceworks, your satisfaction is our passion. And for me, satisfaction is knowing that providing for your family is how I provide for mine. Visit stlfenceworks.com and experience the satisfaction in making your backyard dreams into a reality.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Hey, I'd like you to get to know Dr. Daniel Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer. Those are dentists and my dental team, along with their dental team at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles. You know, whether it's economic value with their dental savings plan and their real concern about giving you value, which is, of course, quality at a great price, or whether it's their personal values, their dedication to absolute precision. I can tell you when I go in and get my treatment there, or just a cleaning, whatever, it's always, I get this feeling it's like laser-guided precision. Well, yeah, they have lasers, but they don't do that for everything, of course. It's the right tool for the right job. Whether it is dental implants, whether it's just general dentistry, cosmetic dentistry, and by the way, he can use some Botox in all the right ways for those applications as well. You'll find the greatest of care, the greatest value, delivered with people who have real values, the values we share at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles. Get to know them by calling 636-978-0226, 636-978-0226, or advanceddentistrynow.com. That's Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Japanese Prime Minister Kishida and his wife stopped by the White House this evening ahead of tomorrow's official visit and glitzy state dinner. Among agenda items for the Prime Minister's visit, closer military ties between the U.S. and Japan.
Kishida has pushed sweeping changes fortifying Japanese defense capabilities since taking office in 2021. Biden and Kishida are expected to discuss a plan to modernize their military command structures so they can better operate together, and will also agree to promote defense industry cooperation, including co-production of weapons.
Correspondent Mari Yamaguchi says it's a response to a growing threat posed by an increasingly aggressive communist China. Plans beginning to take shape for the Republican Party's national convention in Milwaukee this summer. Our White House correspondent Greg Clugston is there.
Hundreds of news media personnel gathered here in Milwaukee for the latest convention update and to finalize technical plans and logistics for the four-day event in mid-July. Organizers said major contracts are in place, including for hotels and transportation. City officials and business owners are hoping for a major economic boost from the GOP convention, which is expected to formally nominate Donald Trump and will take place in fewer than 100 days. Greg Clugston, Milwaukee.
The parents of Michigan school gunman Ethan Crumley are to be sentenced today. James and Jennifer Crumley have been convicted of involuntary manslaughter. 2021 shooting at Oxford High School killed 4 students. Prosecutors who are seeking 10 years in prison for the couple say the parents failed to take action that could have prevented the tragedy. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu repeating his pledge to invade Rafah in southern Gaza, declaring it will happen. There is a date. On Wall Street this morning, the Dow futures are down 5 points. NASDAQ futures 26 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Hi, Rhett Rasmussen of BestHotGrill.com. Step up your grilling game with our Solaire portable infrared grills. Our compact every everywhere is a favorite of RVers and trailer pullers. Solaire Infrared provides the quick sear for bar marks and texture needed to properly finish sous vide. Use a portable alongside your larger conventional grill to create an instant sear zone and more juicy and flavorful food. Learn more at besthotgrill.com. Affordable, powerful, portable infrared grills at Best Hot.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Partly sunny and mild today. There is just a slight chance of a shower, but most of today's rain will slide by to the south of St. Louis, up to 72 this afternoon. Tonight, rain still hanging to the south for the most part. Lots of clouds, though, 54 for a mild overnight low. Higher rain chances kicking in on Wednesday and lasting into Thursday, too. We're at 68 for the high Wednesday. Could see more than an inch of rain from Wednesday into Thursday. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Missouri education officials must be bad poker players. They keep doubling down on the same bad bet. Public school students haven't been reading or doing math at their grade level for way too long. Last year, a horrifying 40% were regarded as not college or career ready after high school. Many states have adopted school choice. Iowa, Oklahoma, and Arkansas all provide money so families can choose the public or private school that works for them. And Kansas has one of the strongest public school choice programs in the nation. Nearly every family in Missouri is given exactly two choices for their children's education. They're assigned public school or learning online. That's it. Our neighbors trust their parents to choose the right school for their kids. Missouri doesn't. So enrollment is already shrinking. That will mean fewer high school graduates, college students, and workers. A bad bet indeed. Check out our 2024 blueprint, Moving Missouri Forward at ShowMeInstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple dog dare ya!
Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice. Drain the swamp and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! This is your cousin.
It's a miracle, apparently.
What miracle?
Miracle. It's miraculous.
Like the eclipse?
Well, no.
No?
The number of COVID deaths suddenly went down.
Now?
I mean, like retroactively.
The 2020 deaths.
Right. They suddenly went down.
They just went down.
Yeah.
Just like that.
People are still dead, but it's not because of COVID.
Oh. Kind of like what we were talking about
time.
the whole time.
time,
Yeah. It's like, okay. All right.
Yeah. All right. We'll get to that. Get to that in just a second here. All right. 314-912-1019. That's how you get involved in the conversation here.
Oh, my gosh.
By the way, Donald Trump decides what he thinks about abortion. I'm going to play the sound bites from his announcement that was posted yesterday on social media. You tell me if you agree, disagree, or if it's good enough for you. Let's do that at 7:20 or so. All right. So suddenly here, the number of reported COVID deaths from the lockdown and the fear-mongering era, it just went down. Imagine that. It just dipped.
Constantly. So just an imaginary number that was originally, and it just kind of just dropped.
It just dropped because what happened was the CDC goes, "Oh, hey, this is so funny. You're gonna really crack up on this, guys." Okay, see, the thing is that we put in numbers of COVID deaths that actually weren't COVID deaths. Our bad, our mistake. We actually didn't give you correct information.
Wait,
I told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? 'Cause I told you. And when did I tell you? A long time ago. And what did I say will happen when I told you? Exactly what just happened.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
We were saying it the whole time. Just like, these numbers don't make sense. Here's what's happening with these. Where'd the flu deaths go? Why are they counting people who died, in a car accident who happened to test positive for COVID as a COVID death? Why are they doing these things? It was like, these numbers aren't right.
See, here's the funny part: is all of those things, those are still in the list. But
wait,
yeah,
wait, this adjustment isn't even for the stupid stuff that we've already covered.
Doesn't even include all of that.
Oh my gosh.
So the CDC, let's start with the pediatric ones.
Okay.
The CDC's data tracker COVID data tracker plummeted nearly 24%.
Oh my gosh.
After the agency resolved what they called a coding logic error.
Uh-huh. You mean they programmed the number to be higher and then they fixed it?
Right.
That's what they're saying.
Well, or they at least came closer to fixing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am reading, this is the Washington Examiner here. CDC's COVID data tracker had presented a misleading impression prior to the fix that children were dying at a sharply amplified rate amid the Omicron surge earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
The tool had reported 1,755 all-time deaths from children aged 0 to 17, 738 of those deaths occurring in the first 10 weeks of 2022. But the CDC resolved the error.
Mm-hmm.
The pediatric death figure reported on the COVID data tracker now is down to 1,339 all-time deaths, a reduction of 23.7%. Now,
wait, whoa, 23.7.
23.7% lower.
And
23.7.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
my God.
Almost 1 out of every 4 reported
Wow.
COVID pediatric deaths did not exist.
Well, and wait, and the raw number was only 13 something?
Well, that's what it was revised down
Revised
to. It was
down to
17 something.
It was Well, even at the higher number, 1,700, we're talking all-time pediatric deaths?
Right. And remember, those are also almost the vast majority of pediatric deaths. In 1,700, if that were the number, you're talking a fraction of 1%.
Yes.
But almost all of those had some sort of comorbidity
Like
as well.
major comorbidity.
Which shows that, but still, to your point, Stel, almost a quarter of them, they're like, oh, hey, our bad. Listen, if we make a mistake on our accounting or something like that, and we're off by, a couple of percent, we're like, ooh, we got to fix that. This is 23.7%.
Remember when they closed schools and they kept them closed? And when even when they opened schools back up, Tony was telling us about this. They'd have these protocols where if you are in the same class as somebody who tested positive for it, you'd have to go home too.
Yeah.
Remember when they did all that garbage?
Yeah. Well, and then this right here, and I want to make sure I clarify something. You're talking about all the adults, the car crashes and everything that were counted.
All those.
Okay. Those
are still in there.
Yeah. For this though, for the pediatric, they revised it down because they're saying, well, these children actually didn't die of COVID.
Right.
Right. So they're like they attributed non-COVID deaths to the COVID because there were financial incentives to do that.
Of course there were.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so prior to the fix, this is a Washington Examiner. Prior to the fix, the CDC's data had been used as the basis for articles published late last week by The Guardian and the New York Post that reported as many as a third of all child deaths from COVID-19 had occurred since the beginning of 2022 among the Omicron surge.
Yes.
Omicron surge.
Scary.
Yeah. And so now they're like, oh, okay, well, we're kind of got egg on our face on that one right there.
Oh, my God.
Okay, so here, and the reality is that if, the Examiner, the, Daily Caller, Daily Wire, a lot of these are now reporting on this. But if it weren't for the conservative media linking back to the original sources.
Oh, gosh.
This wouldn't be out there at all.
We wouldn't know any of this stuff.
This is not going to be on the news probably tonight on Channel 2, Channel 4, Channel 5. It's not going to be on there. Okay.
They're not touching this without.
And what were the statements that we heard from the beginning? All of them censored by tech, et cetera, because the government didn't want the information out. Kids don't get it. 0.0001% will actually get COVID.
Well, even if they get it, I mean,
it's not going to recover fine.
See, the reality is that probably almost everybody had it, whether you realized it or not.
Yeah, there's so many asymptomatic cases.
When I was sick with COVID, that was back in the ridiculous quarantine era. My daughter was stuck and quarantined with me in a home
in the house.
I was in my house. Because I was sick and because she was around me, then she wasn't supposed to go anywhere, which guaranteed I guarantee you she had COVID.
She got it.
But she didn't have any symptoms.
Right.
So almost everybody had it. But the majority of people probably had no symptoms, because I remember at one point when this was all going on, when they were doing the drive-by testing, and you could go through the mall lot,
and they'd stick something up your nose,
right? Which, by the way, hurts like crazy.
Oh gosh, that sucked.
I'm like, were you doing a brain scan, or what were you doing on those? I'm like, good Lord,
digging for gold.
And so, yeah,
well, Q-tips go that far? Wow.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. I'm like, now I have a headache. The reality was there were people at the time, the health officials, who were saying one of the biggest problems is we've got asymptomatic carriers.
Yes.
And I'm like, wait a minute, you mean they're not sick?
Right. That's what you're telling us.
You're telling us that we need to get a test to tell us that we're sick when we're not sick.
Right.
And this, these are the numbers you're relying on. And we were calling this out back then.
Oh gosh, it was very early.
Before this radio station was right before it, because we've been on the air, going on 3 years now. So right before then, when we were on different radio stations, we were calling it out going, this doesn't make sense.
Right. You're not doing it right.
Yeah. And now we're getting quietly, then we're going, okay. Well, there was that coroner in Illinois, and I'm trying to remember what her name was, or her name is. I'm sure
she's still around.
She's still there. And she was actually got hammered because she did a press conference and saying, we're being told, like, to you, and you just said it, if somebody has a car accident, turns out they were positive for COVID, we're supposed to count that as a COVID death.
Yeah.
I mean, she got up there and called it out.
Yes.
And got slammed for it.
Even though absolutely true. And like you mentioned earlier, there was a financial incentive to write all these numbers down. Because the bigger COVID numbers you had in your area, the more availability there was of federal grant money for various things. So what's a hospital going to do then? Are they going to say, no, we're going to leave all that money on the table, even though this person who died of a heart attack had COVID-19 at the same time, or was an asymptomatic carrier? It's like, we're not going to call that a COVID-19 death. We're going to leave that money on the table. Of course not.
Right.
Of course not.
And that's what happens when you have this insanely reckless spending that was happening in 2020 and 2021, and the federal government giving all these ridiculous incentives. So here's the thing, though, is that will we ever, and I say we, I don't mean us here in this room. I don't mean just us listening to the, on the radio or watching us on stream right now. Will we collectively ever go back to trusting health officials?
It's going to be a long time. They're going to have to do a lot of work in order to gain back any level of trust.
Right. I mean, so now, like when I see a report from the CDC says, it could actually, they could send out a report that says, if you drink water, you'll be better hydrated. And somebody's going to go, let's double check the source here. Okay?
Are you sure, though?
Because that's how much credibility they gave up in the name of political ideology. And so the farther we go from this entire, see, I even hate calling it a pandemic, because I'm not even sure that the numbers justified calling it a pandemic as opposed to like a flu season.
Right. Yeah, the more I see about this, the more I'm thinking the term scamdemic is accurate.
Right. Right. And the problem wasn't that people misdiagnosed the crisis.
Right.
It's bureaucrats are going to look for ways to justify their jobs.
Right.
But here's the thing, though, is that when it became evident they were wrong, first of all, when it became evident that they could be wrong, they wouldn't question any of the information. They instead focused on protecting their authority. And then when it became obvious that they were wrong, then they simply tried to change the narrative and change basically the facts. They just lied.
They just straight up
over
lied.
and over and over, because then it became about protecting their power.
Yeah.
So regarding this revision and this update, do you think we'll ever hear from Deborah Birx and Francis Collins and you-know-who Fauci apologizing and saying, oh, gosh, we're sorry?
We have heard from Francis Collins.
Okay.
He didn't apologize, but he admitted that they pulled stuff out of thin air.
Yep, they just made up stuff.
He admitted that they made stuff up.
Sure
he
did.
Actually admitted it.
Sure did.
I don't remember if
I think Fauci did too, actually. He said, that wasn't exactly accurate. The 6 feet. Yeah, he admitted to that one.
But, I mean, I don't remember whether you were already on this show yet or not, but I actually played the soundbite from Francis Collins, who just admitted they just made it up.
Yep, yep.
Many of them, he still defended some of them, but he admitted Yeah, we were just making stuff up, man. And Fauci, you said Fauci's like, well, the 3-foot thing, the 6-foot thing. Yeah, we just kind of thought that sounded good.
Yeah, but they didn't.
2 masks, 4 masks.
But they didn't say they were sorry.
No.
They didn't say,
No.
you know what, this caused harm, and I apologize, and I'm going to, give back the millions of dollars.
Right. I'm going to repent. I'm going to, sit in sackcloth and ashes.
There was no turnaround.
No. All right, 314-912-1019. All right, Donald Trump decides what his position is on abortion. Pretty much, I think there's a lot of people mad at him. Some people say, great, this is the way that the nominee should do. I'll let you hear from him. You tell me what you think. Let's do that around 7:20.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
It's Tuesday at 4:20. We'll speak with David Stokes from the Show Me Institute on an update on the Bayer campus. And at 5:20, Dr. Randy Tobler on Trump's stance on abortion.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Springtime in St. Louis means one thing. That's right. Golf is back, baby. Whether you're a beginner or a scratch golfer, you're sure to enjoy your golf experience at Sugar Creek Golf Course. Sugar Creek is a scenic and challenging course and well-suited to golfers of all abilities. Located in High Ridge, just 10 minutes from 270 and Gravois. At Sugar Creek Golf Course, our courteous and professional staff has one goal: to make sure your golf experience is enjoyable. To book your tee time or to learn more about the special event and banquet facilities, simply visit sugarcreekgolfcourse.com.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Myella Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmostscholars.org. That's herzogmostscholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
Do you have a house that you've been thinking about selling, but maybe it needs a lot of work and you want to sell it in as-is condition? 314-417-1000. My name's Chad with Clayman Real Estate, where we've had a family business for over 90 years, and we buy houses direct from the seller with no middleman involved. 314-417-1000. We recently just bought a house from a nice person who had been in her house for over 30 years. Quite frankly, she wasn't excited about letting a bunch of people in the house, and she wasn't as proud of the house as she once was, and she was ready to sell. We came in and we made her an as-is offer with no repairs and no agency involved. It was just a one-time walkthrough. If you're in that situation and you have a house that you're thinking about selling in as-is condition and want a simple solution, reach out. 314-417-1000. 314-417-1000. Reach out to Clayman Real Estate today, and we will provide you with an as-is, simple solution to your real estate issue.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Thanks for taking my call.
News, analysis, opinion.
Radio news junkie. Love every bit about it.
News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken. Hey, Vic. Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday, 9 to 11, right here on News Talk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Whoosh, my morning people.
All right, the Biden campaign wants to run for re-election on abortion. Trump responds. I want to know what you think about that. We'll get to that in just a minute. By the way, don't forget our app. You can Bluetooth us in or just take us on your phone. The app is free, whether it's iPhone or Android. Free. Just look up News Talk STL in your app store. Doesn't take up very much memory at all. And, of course, you can stream us on newstalkstl.com. 7:22 right now. I want to get to Trump's announced position on abortion here in just a minute. Before we do that, we got Tom here. And if you're just joining us, we're talking about the CDC now is saying, hey, you know those COVID death numbers, especially for the pediatric ones? We were off. Almost one out of every 4 was actually not a COVID death.
Yeah, just FYI.
Yeah, just we put in deaths that were not COVID and counted them as COVID during the entire fear-mongering era.
Oopsie.
Sorry, that decimal was in the wrong point.
If they audit all of them and were actually truthful, I think it would go down even more. Not to say people didn't die, but to directly attribute that as the main cause, the numbers would be totally different. All right, Tom, hey, you're on News Talk STL. What do you think?
Well, first of all, my son-in-law's mother had stage 4 ovarian cancer. She was dying, and they just gave her a matter of days to live. And she was put into a nursing home, and she ended up dying. My son-in-law went over to the funeral home, and on the information filled out for the death certificate, the funeral director had put she had died from COVID.
Oh, for crying
out loud. And he said, no, she died from stage 4 ovarian cancer. So my son-in-law crossed it out and put stage 4 ovarian cancer. Funeral director, well, they're going to kick that back. He says, well, long story short, the death certificate came back, said she had died from stage 4 ovarian cancer and other natural causes. Now, my son-in-law, had he not done that, she would have been another victim of COVID death, and when it wasn't COVID.
Yeah.
Another thing, my wife had a brother and sister who were in the hospital. They were getting, now keep in mind, they were both kidney transplant recipients, so they're, that's a whole nother story there. But they were getting ready to send them home. They said they were getting much better. And all of a sudden, they took a turn for the worse, and they both passed away 10 days of each other. Very sad.
Yeah.
But I said, you need to find out what drugs that you're giving them, because there were some drugs that they were giving them that were actually, people were actually getting better, but it actually killed them. So and it's just my, I got kicked off of Facebook. I got put in Facebook jail because all I said was, I know everybody's not going to agree with me, but I'm choosing not to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
And Facebook put me in Facebook jail for a couple of weeks because of that comment.
Well, how dare you think for yourself and not comply, Tom?
You're not allowed
believe
to,
you.
Not allowed to do that, Tom.
Hey, by the way, I appreciate you guys. I love the commercial that you're running against the former radio station. The only reason I listen to them is to listen to baseball games. When they first got bought out by Odyssey, and I kept hearing that as a band, there's just something strange about this. I mean, I couldn't put my finger on it, and I mean, there's just something I didn't like about it. And then all of a sudden, you guys have dug up the research that who owns the majority of the share of Odyssey.
Yep, they're the biggest owner. George Soros says now he owns they're doing the official paperwork. I think this week the court signs off on it. But yeah, he'll be the 40% owner, which is the largest of all of the owners.
He'll get control very soon here. Yeah.
Yep. Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate your station. Thanks.
Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tom.
Appreciate it, Tom. All right, let's start this. By the way, I actually know a number of people who died during that era. One of them was a former pastor of the church I used to go to when I lived somewhere else. He had chronic, severe cardiac issues for like 15 or 20 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, just really,
serious issues.
Military veteran, and he'd had serious heart issues for a long time. He did get COVID and he did die, but they listed him as a COVID death.
Of course. It couldn't have been the serious heart issues
Right.
he's had for like what, decade or so.
At least, yeah. And had he had a severe case of the flu, I think the same result would have happened. I actually do know one person who was young. I think probably actually was a COVID death, although he was considered, he would have been considered by medical standards morbidly obese.
Oh, well, that's a major comorbidity.
That's a comorbidity as well. All right. Okay, so let me just kind of set this up, and then 7:35. Let's dive into this because I definitely want to make sure we get to Larry Connor's commentary here in a second. Like I said, the Biden campaign wants a lot of this election to be about abortion. They want it to be about the abortion issue.
Yeah, because it paid off for them in previous elections.
In 2022, right fresh after the Dobbs ruling, the younger voters broke hard to the left.
Yep.
And I don't know that was 100% because of the abortion issue. It could have been that, could have been and the student loan stuff, but they are counting on younger voters and frankly the middle voters in the middle to look at abortion as one of the key issues.
Yes. It's a drive you to the poll issue because a lot of these people they already were on that side, but they weren't going to engage.
The thing is that for conservative voters, for Republican voters, there's a lot of people who say that abortion is a drive you to the polls issue. I will not compromise my pro-life vote.
Right. True.
Okay. So here's what Donald Trump had to say. He posted a video on his True Social, which then went on to his
got spread out
Twitter,
everywhere.
and it went everywhere. You can easily find it. It's about 4.5 minutes or something like that long. So I've grabbed 2 sound bites from it. Here's one, which I think is his legal and his policy argument.
My view is now that we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal standpoint, the states will determine by vote or legislation or perhaps both, and whatever they decide must be the law of the land. In this case, the law of the state.
Okay, that is essentially what the Dobbs decision ruled when it overturned Roe versus Wade. They ruled that this was basically created by a judicial fiat, which is what the argument has been for, since 1972, when that ruling came into place, that there was never legislation that created a right to an abortion.
Right.
And so when the left was saying a constitutional right to abortion, that was just false.
Right.
On its face. And the Dobbs decision said there's no legislation that bans this, therefore it is a states' rights issue. The Roe versus Wade judicial precedent is set aside.
Right. Yeah, and there was also the overall federalist argument that even any issues revolving around death, murder, and all these other things tend to be, unless they're on federal land, those are states' issues by default anyway because of the way our system is set up.
Right. And so at 7:34, I've got another, I think maybe even the meatier heart of what Donald Trump was saying. As well. And this is where he lost some pro-life support on this. Now, when I say pro-life support, there are people who are angry with him over this. Now, will they actually not vote for him? That remains to be seen on this. But he made it clear that he's not ideologically pro-life, but he was making a political statement. So there's an argument saying, hey, all he has to do is be less pro-choice than Joe Biden, and we have a duty to vote for him.
Right.
Other people are saying, absolutely not. I'm not compromising this. So you tell me what you think from the soundbite that I'm going to play here right around 7:34, because we got an information segment for you and some commentary from Larry Connors, and I never want to get in the way of the commentary from Larry Connors. And here's the thing. This is it's a tough discussion on the right, but the difference between our side and their side is that we're not afraid to have them.
Yes.
So my questions when we get back here, 314-912-1019. 1, you agree or disagree with Donald Trump, but 2, is his position on abortion enough for you, especially if you're a pro-life voter? I'm just really curious. I'm not interested in arguing with you on it, but I'm curious what you think. Let's talk about that just ahead here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Partly sunny and mild today. There is just a slight chance of a shower, but most of today's rain will slide by to the south of St. Louis. Up to 72 this afternoon. Tonight, rain still hanging to the south for the most part. Lots of clouds, though. 54 for a mild overnight low. Higher rain chances kicking in on Wednesday and lasting into Thursday, too. We're at 68 for the high Wednesday. Could see more than an inch of rain from Wednesday into Thursday. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Shea.
With old man winter blowing into the heartland, let me tell you, Hanson's Tree Service is here to help. Tim Jones here for Hanson's Tree Service. Look them up 24/7 at hansonstree.com. Do you have any tree problems at your home or your business? Overhanging branches? Have Hanson's and the gang take them down professionally so old man winter doesn't. What about organic mulch? Hanson's Tree has got that in bulk. It'll save you in price and time. Incredibly convenient. Protect all those assets you've got in the ground and have Hanson's take care of everything above the ground for you as well. Get them out to your homestead or your business right now. hansonstree.com. That's hansonstree.com.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
With the solar eclipse came a lot of confusion. A perfect example, New York State, 29 out of that state's 62 counties were within the path of totality. And New York City decided students come on to school and take a chance at looking at the sun or not in a proper way. But the state's third largest public school district, Buffalo, told students and teachers, don't come to class. Stay home and watch it. Now, we're not going to have another total solar eclipse visible from the U.S. until 2044. Why would they decide don't come to school? It used to be a great opportunity to educate students about the sun and science, but not this time. What's the deciding factor? Liability. Many school districts were concerned if students and staff were looking at the sun while on school property and had any kind of vision damage, they were going to sue the school district. That's right. That was always at the back of their mind. Don't just look at the sun, look for a way to sue the school. And another big problem for the state was massive traffic jams. They had a lot of that. As one said, those scare me to death, the traffic jams.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Tim Jones here with Dr. Kim Patton from Comprehensive Integrative Healthcare. Kim, you focus on the treating of neuropathy. What are the signs of neuropathy?
The most common symptoms are numbness, burning, cramping, usually in the hands and feet.
Tell me about the success you're having with your Restore Neuropathy treatment program.
Tim, our program includes 8 distinct steps, offering a unique experience from other treatments. No surgery, no addictive medications, and we are seeing a success rate of 95%.
Kim, that is incredible. How can people learn more?
Visit us online at CIH.health. That's CIH.health.
Hi, I'm Rodney Wallner.
And I'm Jen Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Jen, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission plan?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What's the best time to sell your home?
Right now, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
Larry Connors USA.
Hunter Biden and his artwork.
Excuse me, Hunter. Apparently you're afraid of my words. What a coward.
The art gallerist apparently had claimed that one of Hunter's financial backers purchased most of his paintings for $875,000. What's this? Oh, it's a scribble, but really it's a man walking into his future and seeing his past at the same time.
You are the epitome of white privilege.
They were laundering money, and he had all of his friends coming forward to help him out.
Larry Connors, weeknights at 6 on News Talk STL. Talk radio made in St. Louis for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL.
Our responsibility.
News, analysis, and opinion.
To provide updated guidance.
At 1019, 94.1, and newstalkstl.com.
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, we're getting the comments rolling in here on Rumble. At least I don't have Facebook up, but we're getting the comments in here. 314-912-1019. Donald Trump announces his position on abortion. I've got another soundbite. The first soundbite I played is basically, if I had to paraphrase it, he basically said, "I support the Dobbs decision." Is that fair to say? I support that's really kind of what he was
I
saying.
think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
States' rights issue, whatever the people of the legislatures of the states decide, that's what it should be.
Yes.
I think that's fair.
Yes.
But by the way, have you ever wanted to tell somebody they're a moron but without being a jerk?
Yes.
Okay.
All the time.
We're here to help. I'm going to tell you how to do that at 7:50.
Yay.
So get your pad and paper out. If you're listening at work or at home, you're going to want to write some of these down. Okay, so here's another part. Donald Trump posts on, I think he originally posted it on his Truth Social, and then it got put up on Twitter and everywhere else. You can easily find a statement. He talks a lot about in vitro fertilization, and then he talks a lot about that he thinks that the states should decide. But then where he made some people mad is that he doesn't go on to really make an argument for a pro-life cause. He made the argument for the will of the people is what matters.
Right.
314-912-1019. So here's I think the best representation of the whole thing about abortion that he said.
Many states will be different. Many will have a different number of weeks, or some will have more conservative than others, and that's what they will be. At the end of the day, this is all about the will of the people. You must follow your heart, or in many cases, your religion or your faith. Do what's right for your family and do what's right for yourself. Do what's right for your children. Do what's right for our country and vote. So important to vote. At the end of the day, it's all about will of the people. That's where we are right now, and that's what we want, the will of the people.
Okay, so follow your heart, follow your faith. It's all, and that's where a lot of criticisms came in from the pro-life activist group,
right?
Activist groups out there.
Yeah, they weren't happy about that.
A lot of disappointment on that.
They weren't happy about the construction.
Okay, so let's see here. Blues Nut says, I think that if you're going to make the decision to vote based on abortion, and that one item you're on the fence anyways, and probably not a true conservative or Republican. Being short-sighted on one thing is what's killing the country. Laura says, I'm pro-life, but I think there should be a 15-week limit federally. States like New York should not have the option to get an abortion after 24 weeks. Then states can decide if they support or not. God will judge. Let's see here. All in Man says the issue as to Donald J. Trump is no different than pre-Civil War states' rights. Abortion or slavery was the same as a state doing what it wanted. Are we as a country going to a civil war?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, people have been talking about the politest civil war is the national divorce. That's the one of the conversations. Well, I tend to look at the abortion issue very similarly to the slavery issue. I think they have a lot in common, a lot of the same arguments, a lot of the same legal issues kind of associated. And but what I hope is that it doesn't come down to the same necessary outcomes of taking up arms against one another in order to protect people. So one thing though, I post Civil War, one of the things that I always look at when it comes to voting is, Black folks didn't really have much of a choice when it came to, who was going to be in office. Like, okay, do you want this racist or this racist? That was true for a long time. So there had to be other practical realities associated with who their vote, where their vote went. So I tend to look at things very, very practically when I regard who my choices are for voting. So, like Lila Rose said, there's one candidate who's, more pro-life than another, right?
Should I read that real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Then, so Lila Rose from Live Action, obviously one of the more high-profile pro-life advocates out there.
Especially on social media.
She's got a very long statement. I'm reading the whole thing here. She says, killing babies is always wrong. President Trump is not a pro-life candidate. He's far less pro-abortion than Biden, but he supports killing some preborn children and will even make that his position in an attempt to get pro-abortion votes. She goes, let me skip down a couple. Let's see here. President Trump also says that abortion should come down to the, quoting, will of the people. It is not right for democratic societies to vote on the fundamental rights of unpopular minorities. There is no more unpopular minority today than preborn Americans. Again, this is Lila Rose talking. Abortion is not about the will of the people. It's about respecting the human right that we are endowed with by our Creator. Our rights come from God, not from government. And there's a lot more to it. And you can find her, Lila Grace Rose, on Twitter if you want to read the rest of it.
Now, Allison and some others on Facebook have commented that I will vote for Trump. I can't vote for Biden. And I'm sure it's essentially because of this issue.
Yep. That's kind of where I was going with it, is just that, I want to move the pro-life football forward.
Right.
That's kind of like, we're not going to get it all at once. I would love to be able to throw a 90-yard pass, to get us into the end zone where the entire country is on board with the pro-life stance. But I don't think that's feasible. I don't think it's possible today.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. This is an observation, and you may completely disagree with my assessment here, is that with the Dobbs decision, so much of the pro-life world said, fantastic, that is moving the football forward because now we're free to fight for pro-life cultures and pro-life laws around the country. And that's what we've said here, that this, constitutionally speaking, that first thing that Donald Trump said, I think constitutionally speaking, he's correct.
Yeah.
That this should have gone to the states. That Dobbs did not say Congress cannot pass a ban on abortion.
True.
That
they didn't outright say that. They didn't outright say it.
But it did say that it goes there constitutionally. I think he's correct. I think what a lot of people were hoping to hear from him is that I'm pro-life. I want a culture of life. In your states, we need to try to have pro-life laws and a culture, because the Dobbs decision should not have been the finish line.
Right.
The Dobbs decision should have been the opening gate.
Right.
Should have been the starting gun.
Yes.
And I think that's why I think a lot of pro-life advocates are frustrated or angry with him right now, saying no, because he went on and he finished by saying, but the important thing is that I have to get elected, basically.
Yeah.
We have to win the elections. But if life is your issue and somebody says, I'm going to compromise and I'm okay with abortion at the state level, but elect me. If pro-life is your issue, then you may be asking, well, why?
Yeah, I think it was a rhetorical blunder on his part. If I were, running a campaign where I wanted to make sure that I didn't completely alienate the people who were on the fence about abortion or who thought that some of the pro-life laws in various states were a little too harsh, but they're still leaning towards me as president, if I'm trying not to lose them, what I do is I simply say, from the federal level, I'm not going to support any federal laws regarding this, but my heart is with the states that are moving towards a culture of life. So you say, okay, this is where I want the world to go, but I am technically not a threat to you in that regard. That's how you split the baby, I guess, in political terms to deal with the politics of the moment. But the thing is, instead of expressing any serious support of the state level pro-life movement, he punted on that too by saying, okay, now just follow your heart and everybody vote.
Right, exactly. So I completely understand why so many in the pro-life movement are really disappointed on this. Now, does that mean that they're going to change how they vote? I don't know. I don't know. I truly don't know.
I doubt it for most.
Yeah. Does that mean they're going to vote for Biden? Of course not.
Right.
But does that mean that they would consider a third party candidate
Staying
or not
home,
voting?
all that. Yeah.
That I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. And the last thing too, though, is I'm disappointed with some of the rhetoric I've seen from the pro-life people who were demanding essentially federal action on this, because it smacks of a bit of a what am I saying?
Hypocritical.
It smacks of a hypocritical argument to say, okay, we wanted Roe overturned because we didn't want the federal government involved in all this state issue. Now it's a state issue. Yeah, hip hip hooray! And that's what everybody was kind of saying not too long ago. But now we're saying, okay, well, we want federal action.
Let's go back to it again.
Let's go back. Let's go back to federal
Which
action.
makes no sense.
Let me play devil's advocate a little bit on that, because immediately the Democrats were saying we are going to pass along Congress to codify Roe versus Wade legislatively.
Right, and we said don't do that.
And we said don't do that, and then the Republicans said, okay, you want to do that? Or the pro-life Republicans.
Yeah.
The Republican doesn't mean pro-life.
Yeah.
So the left says, all right, we're going to put legislation and we're going to codify Roe versus Wade legislatively in Congress. And so conservatives said, all right, we'll up you one. We're going to ban abortion legislatively in Congress. We're gonna do a little détente there with you.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be also part of why that argument's there as well.
Well, I can understand the politics of the moment, in that maybe congressional Republicans or whoever, the pro-life Republicans in government could say, okay, here are my nuclear weapons, and you have to stay your nuclear weapons, and they create the sort of MAD situation, mutually assured destruction, at the federal level to keep the status quo. Maybe that might be their strategy, but that's not what the pro-life people on the ground need to be talking about. They need to be talking about that 50-state fight,
right?
To do this, because we've had so many victories across the country post-Roe in the 50-state fight. So why don't we just continue that instead of now trying to fight over taking such a giant bite out of this elephant? All right,
let me know what you think. Still, we're getting a lot of comments coming in, at least on Rumble. I don't know if we're seeing them on the other ones as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also going to point this out, is that it is fair for us to talk about the laws and legislation. It's crucial. It's absolutely crucial. It's also a matter of the heart.
Yeah. This is a moral issue as much as it is a political one.
And it is more important, I would argue, to win people over on a heart and mind issue on the actual act of abortion, regardless of what the law says.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is about who and what we are as a society, and the laws are supposed to reflect that. But we need to be out in front on a person-to-person, heart-to-heart level as well. Don't get caught up in just the laws.
Yeah, politics is downstream from culture.
It should be.
Should be.
All right. Speaking of culture, have you ever just wanted to say, "Boy, you're really dumb," but do it in a nice way and not be offensive?
Yeah, in all these cultural and political discussions, yes, I need those things.
Get your notepad out. I'm going to help. Right around 7:51.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Friday, April 19th, groove on down to Busch Stadium for Grateful Dead Night. With the purchase of a special themed ticket, fans will receive a long-sleeve Grateful Dead lightweight hoodie. Come early for a special pregame performance by St. Louis's favorite Dead tribute band, Jake's Leg, on the Budweiser stage. A portion of each ticket purchased will be donated to the Rex Foundation. For tickets or more information, visit cardinals.com/theme.
This is Jojo Romero, St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
Sunday, April 21st is Donate Life Day at the Ballpark, presented by Mid-America Transplant. That day, the Cardinals host the Brewers, and fans who purchase a special themed ticket will receive an exclusive Cardinals cap supporting organ and tissue donation. A portion of each ticket sold will be donated back to support the Mid-America Transplant Foundation. That's Sunday, April 21st, Donate Life Day at the Ballpark. For tickets or more information, visit cardinals.com/theme.
This is David Eckstein, St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
Southern Armory, your hometown gun store. Come and be more than just a customer. Southern Armory, we carry the best guns, holsters, knives, magazines, ammunition, and even food storage. Special orders are welcome. Southern Armory, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, 9901 Watson Road, and SouthernArmory.com. That's SouthernArmory.com.
Whether you're purchasing your first firearm or adding to your collection at Southern Armory, you're more than a customer, you're part of the family. Follow Southern Armory on Facebook or at SouthernArmory.com.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents, and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. The city was booming. Unfortunately, St. Louis city streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline. St. Louis City Republicans believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. Learn more at stlouisrepublicans.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC, Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com.
Hi, this is Kira Davis, and you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
16, I found my dream machine. Turn the key in.
Now we're talking some good bump music. Sammy Hagar. All right. Let's see here. You ever wanted to let somebody know that they're just not so smart, but you don't want to be the jerk in the process?
Right.
We're here to help.
Yay.
All right. Going to do that right now here. By the way, the new ratings are out. You from year to year, you get the rich states, poor states.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Report. That is going to be officially released in 8 minutes.
Okay.
And at 8:05, we've got Jonathan Williams from ALEC to put the report together. Going to do the first interview about that right here on News Talk STL 8:05. We're going to compare how is Missouri and Illinois doing in the rich states, poor states report, and what do they need to be better at when it comes to, I guess, allowing you the freedom to prosper.
Yes, please.
We'll do that. All right. 7:53 right now. Okay, so I've got a list of here just great insults that just don't sound offensive, though.
I'm so excited for
I mean,
this list.
it's one thing to get mad at somebody to go, you a-hole.
Right. I mean, that's...
You black...
Right. You can't say that on there.
Right.
Don't you cuss on this here.
That's right. But what if somebody's just doing or saying something really, really dumb and you're kind of exhausted at it?
Right.
You know, you want to get the point across that I understand what you're saying isn't very smart or isn't very well informed, but you really don't want to be an a-hole about it.
Yeah, so something you might be able to say at a business meeting.
Yeah,
with a coworker.
So here's a list of some things that you can say, you know, that don't sound offensive.
Okay.
But make it very clear what you think.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
For instance, what an odd thing to say out loud.
Okay. Yes. I think that makes it clear that what you said was weird. But yeah, it's just like, what an odd thing to say out loud.
Yeah. Here's another one, and I think I've used versions of this over the years. Well, that sounds like something you'd say.
Yes. That's the reputational destruction by polite inference. I love it.
This is one of my favorites I have ever heard in my life right here. I mean, this is, if you're going to write one down, write this one down.
Get
here,
your pens
okay?
ready, folks.
I admire how you don't let your limitations affect your confidence.
That's great.
That is one of the best ones I have ever heard in my life. I am putting that to memory.
Yes.
So that I can use
because it's a
that.
compliment, right? I mean, people who aren't paying attention to, if you've been in one of these discussions and it feels like the other person isn't really paying attention to you to begin with, they're just kind of hearing words. So if you start with basically, I admire, their brain would stop right there. And then they just take it positively.
I had a boss when I worked at a different station years ago. One of his favorite things, he wouldn't say this person sucks at their job. You know, he would say their confidence outweighs their competence.
Yes, I've heard that one too.
Yeah, so he would say that, but I'm going to read that one again.
Yeah,
just so you know.
please, yes.
Just so people can know. I admire how you don't let your limitations affect your confidence.
Yes.
Brilliant.
It's
brilliant.
That's a great one.
Here's a good one. It's impossible to underestimate you.
Again, for the slow listener, or the fast listener, they're listening too fast. They won't catch that's an insult. They won't.
Right.
They won't.
Right. Exactly. You had one earlier that that it was a version of that you had.
Yes.
Wisdom has been chasing you, but you've always been faster.
Yes. And that's one of my favorites because the first time I heard it, it was I believe it was by a Kenyan man, and he had that African accent. It was perfect. It's like wisdom has been chased. It was like an old proverb.
Yeah. Yes.
He's like, wisdom has been chasing you.
Stop and let it catch you for once.
Catch you.
Oh my goodness! Of course, you've got. If you've been around anybody from the South or even from the southern part of the Midwest, you've always heard "bless your heart."
Oh gosh, yes,
that's on the list.
Yes,
too.
that's the
Or
southern.
bless your pea-picking heart.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, the southern grandma fu. That's what that is.
Totally is.
Courtesy of Tennessee Henry Ford back in the day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, bless your heart.
Here's another one. I've never heard this one, but it's pretty good. It's now I see what everyone's talking about.
Again, reputation destruction by inference.
Right.
I love it.
Now I have heard people say this one. I admire your enthusiasm.
Yes, I've heard that one too. It's like, well,
as misguided as it may be,
right?
Like,
especially if you leave it right there. And the thing is that somebody who fits the description of what we're talking about will be driving home, and then all of a sudden, like a half hour later, go, Hey, wait a minute.
It's like, wait a minute.
That wasn't what I thought it was.
I thought they were nice to me.
Okay, and then I think I've got time for one more here. All right. Your teacher always handed your test back face down, didn't she?
I don't think I've ever heard that one before.
Man.
That's a good one. Face down.
Well, you tried, Billy.
All right, Missouri versus Illinois. Who's doing better on the rich states, poor states list of financial freedom and opportunity? They're about to release that report, and we're going to talk about it in 5 minutes.
Hey, Columbo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
No paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Never paint again with Rhino Shield. Listen to what a couple of happy customers have to say.
My family's business is over 10,000 square feet, and it did not have the curb appeal I wanted. Our building was really faded. You came out, you gave me all of these options that would fit my building. I don't want to have to paint my building again. 25 years is a long time to not have to worry about the outside maintenance of your building as far as paint. That's a no-brainer. That's why Rhino Shield worked for me.
What a wonderful job they did. It's beautiful. They were very thoughtful, kind, considerate guys. Appreciate all the work that these two young men did.
Call Rhino Shield, 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
No paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Classic Kicks Country is streaming now. Hear all your new country favorites from the 90s.
I should have been a cowboy.
Streaming as it happened in the 90s. Classic Kicks.
Let's go, girls.
Download the Classic Kicks app from the App Store. Online at ClassicKicks.com.
I'll go back.
Or enable the Classic Kicks skill on Alexa.
I love this station.
90s New Country streaming now. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. 2 Michigan parents charged in a deadly 2021 high school shooting that was carried out by their son are to be sentenced today. James and Jennifer Crumley have been convicted of involuntary manslaughter. Their son Ethan fatally shot 4 students at Oxford High School. Prosecutors seeking 10 years prison for the couple say the parents failed to take action that could have prevented the tragedy. Both of the leading candidates in the race for the White House facing political challenges in battleground Wisconsin. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports from Milwaukee.
Donald Trump and Joe Biden won their respective primaries here in Wisconsin, but last week's voting highlighted some potential areas of concern for both campaigns. Nearly 119,000 Republicans voted for a GOP candidate other than Trump. and more than 48,000 Democratic voters chose uninstructed instead of Mr. Biden, more than double his narrow margin of victory here in the state in 2020. Greg Clugston, Milwaukee.
The special counsel in the case that accuses Donald Trump of plotting to overturn the 2020 election has filed a legal brief with the U.S. Supreme Court.
Trump has argued that former presidents enjoy immunity for official acts while in office. But both the judge presiding over the case and a 3-judge federal appellate panel in Washington have forcefully rejected that claim. In their latest brief, special counsel Jack Smith's team rehashed many of the arguments that have prevailed in lower courts.
Correspondent Lisa Dwyer says the High Court is slated to hear the case in a couple of weeks. In the so-called hush money case in New York, a judge has refused to delay next week's start of the trial, also refused a request for a change of venue. On Wall Street this morning, Dow futures are up 47 points. NASDAQ futures 70 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Are you over 30 and putting off life insurance? It's time to get a quick quote from Ethos. A better, easier way to get term life insurance. All online with no medical exam. Answer a few health questions and you could be approved for up to $2 million. Isn't it worth 10 minutes to help protect your family's financial security? Ethos. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com.
My doctor told me my cholesterol is borderline, so I took control with Garlic Healthy Cholesterol Formula. Garlic helps maintain healthy cholesterol safely and naturally. It's odor and taste-free, and Garlic is a world leader in garlic potency. I'm taking charge of my cholesterol with Garlic Healthy Cholesterol Formula, cholesterol's natural enemy.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The term natural references only the garlic in the product.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Partly sunny and mild today. There is just a slight chance of a shower, but most of today's rain will slide by to the south of St. Louis, up to 72 this afternoon. Tonight, rain still hanging to the south for the most part. Lots of clouds, though, 54 for a mild overnight low. Higher rain chances kicking in on Wednesday and lasting into Thursday, too. We're at 68 for the high Wednesday. Could see more than an inch of rain from Wednesday into Thursday. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
The wait is over. Capriati's is now open. Taste extraordinary with our one-of-a-kind sandwiches, like our award-winning Bobby with hand-pulled butterball turkey and stuffing, our roast beef with hand-sliced American Wagyu beef from Snake River Farms, or our crowd-favorite classic cheesesteaks with your choice of grilled steak or chicken. No matter which you choose, you'll always get Capriati's high-quality ingredients. Capriati's. Eat extraordinary. Order now at capriatis.com or on the app.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Tony Colombo here, reminding you to visit my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton before your next trip into the great outdoors. For decades, Bluff City Outdoors has covered all the needs for area fishermen, and they'll always have all the best bait, tackle, and gear for your next trip on the water. And now they cover all your bow hunting needs, including their state-of-the-art indoor archery range and techno hunt system, open every day for you to come shoot, or you can join a league. Follow Bluff City Outdoors on Facebook and learn more at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Mike Ferguson.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
We have a hope.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up.
What do you call a genius in President Biden's Homeland Security Department? A visitor.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up.
Hot off the presses, man. Minutes ago, just released the new Rich States, Poor States rankings from the American Legislative Exchange Council. We're going to be among the first to actually get the source. Talk about that here in just a second. Don't forget, News Talk STL, #1 for live and local conservative talk. By the way, that's 7 days a week, because we have some really good conservative talk locally produced here all weekend long. So don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, subscribe to our Rumble feed, subscribe to all the stuff. And you can not just, go back and hear stuff again, or if you missed it, hear it for the first time, because there's some people that insist on going to work and having jobs and things like that.
Yeah,
so
whatever.
if you want to catch it later, do that. And also, more importantly, I think, send the discussions to your friends and colleagues who either would be interested in it or just need a little dose of reality and facts.
And speaking of the weekends, make sure
Yes.
you check out Danny Define on
Yes.
Sunday nights at 10, his
Yep.
new show.
The Next Generation show with Danny Define. He's now part of News Talk STL. By the way, thank you to everybody who's commenting. I'm looking on Rumble, looking at all the others. That conversation about Donald Trump and abortion and the pro-life movement and
It
all
continues.
that. It is sticky. It is hard. It is difficult. But I really appreciate everybody engaging, whether you agreed or disagreed with Trump or Stell or Gabe or me or anybody else. We just show that we can do it. You know, we can have those conversations, whereas the other side, they respond by not wanting to have the conversations and shutting down anybody they disagree with.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, but every year, rich states, poor states, there's a ranking that looks at what direction your state is going, how free are they, what's the potential for prosperity there, and it was literally the embargo released on it 7 minutes ago. I got Jonathan Williams from the American Legislative Exchange Council with me right now. And Jonathan, appreciate you being on the program here. All right, the State Economic Competitive Index. Overall, let me start there because I really want to compare Missouri and Illinois. But overall, when we look at the last year or so, are the states tending to embrace the free markets more, or are they tending to embrace the big government approach more from what we're seeing in the last year or so?
Well, good morning and greetings from the land of make-believe here in D.C. But luckily, we're not talking about the dysfunction in D.C. today. We're talking about, as you mentioned, all the states moving in the right direction. I mean, we have, over the last 3 state legislative sessions, folks, seen over half the states cut taxes and actually use the surplus money that's been sloshing around in state capitals thanks to the Biden bucks, thanks to other natural surplus growth in the states that are doing things well, and they're investing that back into taxpayers. And so I think that is one of the greatest stories that the liberal media in D.C. likes to ignore, in that the states are moving the ball forward as Washington continues to be gridlocked. And I do think that I'm more optimistic now than this is number 17 edition of Rich States, Poor States that went live about 8 minutes ago at richstatespoorstates.org. And the top states, I mean, we are seeing some real economic turnaround stories, as well as the perennial powerhouse stories of states that have continually got it right. And of course, this isn't just an academic ranking, as you know, folks. This is actually, the proof is in the pudding. Americans continue to vote with their feet, as we like to say, is one of our clear takeaways towards states that value economic freedom, and of course away from states that have big government policies that drive away jobs and actually make us all worse off.
Good morning, Jonathan. Gay Pfeiffer here. I'm looking at a summary of sort of the top and the bottom states here, and there are 2 scores, the outlook and performance scores. Could you explain what those mean?
Yeah, the outlook score is what we focus on for most of the discussions around this release, because it is, I think, the most important for state policymakers in Jeff City and Springfield and capitals all across the country, of things that they can do to really change the course of their economic story as a state and change their economic resume, change those policies that we know matter for economic growth. In Rich States, Poor States, we concentrate on 15 policies such as taxes and regulations and labor policies that really are drivers for why we have rich states and why we have poor states and why some states are growing and some states aren't. And then, of course, we have the performance side of the rankings as well, that, as I mentioned a second ago, as Americans continue to vote with their feet across state lines, that's one of the things we always love to talk about, because in that backwards looking 10-year look back there on the performance, we look at job creation by state, we look at personal income growth by state, and then we look at the migration patterns. And it's very difficult, as we've learned over the last nearly 2 decades, to actually have in-migration if you're a state that is not getting it right when it comes to policy, and vice versa. I mean, people go where they're wanted, capital goes where it's wanted, businesses go where they're wanted, and it turns out people are pretty sophisticated and can figure out the big differences in many cases, that just a river or a road on the street will be able to separate 2 different different policy outcomes.
Okay, so before we get into the Missouri and Illinois comparison, I just kind of want to set the stage for something. We're visiting with Jonathan Williams from the American Legislative Exchange Council. And by the way, Jonathan and Art Laffer and Stephen Moore, and Stephen, of course, is on the program pretty regularly, are the ones who compiled all this and put this list together. Government can absolutely get in the way and destroy jobs and destroy economic prosperity and destroy opportunity and get in the way of all this. Can government create economic prosperity, or is it just a matter of government is either in the way or out of the way?
Well, yeah, in general, it's a great point. I mean, this is the classic free market debate, right? And kind of Hayek versus Keynes, right? This is as free market as it gets when it comes to the ALEC principles. So we, generally follow that philosophy. Government should get out of the way, let people innovate and create for themselves. There are cases where government tries to step in, and the record is, very mixed, right? Most times it's littered with government examples of some sort of a program that's cooked up with great intentions and has horrible outcomes. I mean, we could go state by state to talk through all of those. Even Jeff City's been guilty of that once in a while, as you all know very well. Occasionally, one of those programs works out well, but in the long term, I mean, the best course that we've found in our research is obviously to keep taxes low for everyone and to not pick winners and losers when it comes to tax credits, spending, those types of things that oftentimes government gets mired in.
Okay, so the bad news here is that both Missouri and Illinois are on the bottom half of the list. Missouri at 29, and Illinois, this is going to surprise nobody, 48 out of 50.
Whew.
Yeah. So when you looked at the difference between Missouri and Illinois, let's start there, Jonathan. What were the differences that literally were almost a 20 position ranking difference?
Well, there's a couple that really stand out that put some real distance between Missouri and Illinois. I mean, one is the business tax structure and regime and overall tax burden on businesses. It's about twice as high in Illinois as it is, over twice as high as it is in Missouri. So as you look at where employers are looking to relocate, bringing those jobs with them, it's twice as expensive for all things created equal to have a business in Illinois versus on the other side of the line. So that's one that's very easy. Then you look at other things that really do matter for individuals as well. Illinois still has a state level death tax. It's one of only a few states in America that still continue to try to tax that same amount of capital for the second or third time for these families in the states as people pass away. And that's a clear driver, especially of wealthy and business owners, away from states that have state-level death taxes. And then you look at other things such as minimum wage. Illinois has a much higher minimum wage, one of those feel-good government policies that creates unemployment, as we know. And then you look at things like tax limits. Missouri has long benefited from things like the Hancock Amendment and other limits on the growth of government spending. It's not going to shock any listeners today that Illinois has absolutely zero limits on government spending growth. And of course, what do we get? We get out of control spending growth and high taxes.
Jonathan, how can Missouri become, something more like a North Carolina, which is kind of a success story going from 26 to number 4 this edition, versus a New York, which is a perennial bottom feeder?
Well, there's a couple of things that I would point out on that front. In North Carolina, it's been a long march forward for North Carolina. It wasn't a one-year improvement. That was over the last 10 years. And so it doesn't need to be done overnight to go from where Missouri is at 29 to number 4, but it can be done within, let's say, a term of a governor. A lot of people want to be the next governor of Missouri. We have lots of new legislators looking to run. And within the course of 4 or 8 years, you could see a path where Missouri could make those changes to crack the top 10 or even the top 5 by looking at things like, many states over the last couple of years have really focused on cutting personal income taxes and providing that type of relief. We saw Iowa with major changes, even Nebraska that's been a laggard in the region. Arkansas has aggressively cut taxes in the last couple of years under Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and as a result moved all the way to number 15 for best economic outlook. And so I think I would focus on income taxes because all taxes matter to economic growth, but income taxes are are the most damaging. Any tax on capital, business tax, income taxes, those are things that Missouri still, especially with the earnings taxes in the big cities in St. Louis and Kansas City, adds to the burden of individuals living and choosing Missouri as a location versus other states. There's other things in the rankings that do stick out. I mean, the size and scope of government and the amount of government employees is still way too high in Missouri with all the local units of government, especially. This is a little bit of a head scratcher probably for some, but when you compare Illinois and Missouri, you look at the amount of public employees, and per 10,000 of population, to try to get an apples to apples comparison, Illinois has actually fewer public employees per capita than Missouri does. So that's an easy one to start to say, hey, we need to really look at how big government is relative to the overall size of our economy and what taxpayers can afford.
Good morning, Jonathan. Stal Ponticus here. A few of our listeners were wondering about the states that are getting a lot of press over the last couple of years. Could you comment on Florida, Texas, and Tennessee?
Well, those are three of the high-soaring states when it comes to economic outlook. They are clearly examples of what to do right. Look at Texas, for instance. We're putting out a press release here this morning on Texas with the lieutenant governor. Texas had the largest tax cut in state history and one of the largest in American history last year when they had all the surplus dollars sitting in the state capital. Of course, Texas and Tennessee and Florida, states without personal income taxes, back to that discussion from a minute ago, and one of the most effective things that states can do to be competitive is avoid an income tax. So Texas, when they had the surplus, they couldn't obviously cut income taxes, so they sent money back to taxpayers in forms of cutting down property tax burdens, which was high in Texas. And so $18 billion net tax cut in Texas, incredible way to try to get that money out of government and back into the hands of taxpayers. And of course, the record under Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida has been incredible with the school choice policies and all the other good economic reforms. And Tennessee has been a long powerhouse avoiding an income tax. And so that Southeast region, I know Missouri has kept some competition there with Tennessee and Texas, and you're losing folks to those states and businesses. Such an important regional comparison, and that region is one of the best in the country because of those three states.
All right, real quick here, the top five: Utah, Idaho, Arizona, North Carolina, and Indiana, and then Texas is number 6. The bottom 5, I think you're going to see a pattern here, guys. That would be Maine, New Jersey, California, Illinois, Vermont, and New York.
Huh. Something seems to be in common with those guys.
I think we've got some patterns here on this. Yeah, so Alec, and a lot of people would say, okay, well, yeah, this is just, conservative and you don't like the liberal states, but this really is just looking at the numbers and looking at the results of the policy. I mean, when you talk about people moving out of the state of Illinois, moving out of the state of Florida, moving out of the state of California, I mean, the numbers are just the numbers. It's just what they are, and then the policies have consequences.
Well, that's right. And, you look at the bottom 5 or the bottom 10, none of these states are big in-migration states. I mean, so you can compare that record against, Paul Krugman and liberal economists out there at the New York Times would like to say, hey, this is the model. I mean, well, if that's the model, why aren't businesses and individuals going there? We have freedom of association in America, and thank God for the founders and our system of federalism and this competitive laboratories of democracy. And it turns out, let's compare our resume of free market states versus the resumes of the big government states. And now for 17 years in a row, the free market states continue to win because people value economic opportunity. That's the number one reason, gentlemen, why people move from state to state, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, is they're going for more economic opportunity. Of course, the proof is in the pudding, and free market policies work because freedom works.
All right, Jonathan Williams, American Legislative Exchange Council. We find the rich states, poor states, where?
richstatespoorstates.org. It's preloaded with all 17 editions, so you can see where you're at today and where you might want to be in the future.
All right, Jonathan, really appreciate you being on the program again. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, guys.
All right, 314-912-1019. Going to dump some news on you here in just a moment. But what I like about this particular report, and I know that anytime you say Alec, the left throws a fit. But they literally just look at, here are the results. Here are the things that we know cause these results. Here are the rankings on this. Missouri being 29 means that there's a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah. We're a little worse than middle.
We should be higher than that on the Missouri side. Illinois, Absolutely. This is exactly where I expect you to be. Basically right at the bottom. If it weren't for New York,
Yeah.
I mean, at least there's always New York. But when you finish behind California, that's not good.
Oof.
All right, 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
You want to give me more information. You want to take the place of what I trust. Turn on your colored box. You look for some answers. For false impressions, well, baby, they will last forever. Stop it right now. I have had enough of this. Turn my eyes to yours.
Always be clear where you get your conservative talk.
The St. Louis Business Journal is now reporting that liberal billionaire George Soros is the largest shareholder of Odyssey,
the parent company of KMOX and 97.1 Talk. Soros' maneuver raises critical questions about the future of media ownership and influence.
Money and attention is power. And when he has the money and he controls what's on the radio stations, he's going to be able to control the minds, potentially hundreds of millions of Americans.
St. Louis's trusted source and number one
for
conservative talk.
This is News Talk STL.
All right, springtime, going to be nice. The weather's going to be beautiful all week. This is the time to improve the performance of your home. And listen, over the past couple of years, my wife and I have invested so much in our home. And we do a lot of the things that other people do when you say it's time to make this the best value, whether you're trying to build equity or you just want the best home possible. We've done new roofing. We've renovated rooms in the house. And we've done all these things to take care of our home. Why? Because it's our home. It's not just a structure. It's where we build our lives. And that's why you should call my friends at Window World. Mike Ferguson here for Window World. I say this all the time. I'm going to say it again here in just a moment. They are simply the best for less. And the two words to listen to are best and less. Let me start with less. When you go buy a new window, if you go to Window World, you're likely going to pay less, especially with anything custom. I mean, you can go to the home improvement store and buy the cheap windows there, but you're probably going to pay less at Window World anyway. They've got this process down so well that they can manufacture this and customize it to your home. Not to where you have to build your home around the window, to where they build the window around your home. And also less in that they have a lifetime warranty. If anything goes wrong with that window because of an act of God like a massive storm or anything like that, it's covered. All parts, all glass breakage, all labor, completely covered when you buy that window up front. And those double strength glass windows are designed to last a lifetime. Window World doesn't want to come back in 20 years and sell you another window. They want to sell you one window and then take care of it for the life of your home. Also, it's going to make your home more energy efficient. It is surpassing even the brand new Energy Star standards now. That's how good these are. So give them a call today, 314-993-1800. Get that free in-home estimate. No pressure, no obligation. Just let them show you why and how they are simply the best for less. 314-993-1800. Window World products are offering security. They're going to beautify your home. They're going to offer that energy efficiency. Basically, it makes your home better. And they have 18 months, same as cash financing with approved credit as well, so it's even easier. 314-993-1800. Remember, Window World is the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Tony Colombo here for Cadre Asset Management. A cadre is defined as a small group of people specially trained for a particular purpose or profession, and that is the role that Cadre Asset Management can play in your financial journey. Learn more about how they can help secure your financial future by following Cadre Asset Management on Facebook, or just go to cadreassetmgmt.com.
Cadre Asset Management is a Missouri-based independent advisory firm licensed under and securities and investment advisory services offered through Founders Financial Securities, LLC, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
Does your life insurance plan include living benefits, hearing, diabetic supplies, teledoc service, discounts on urns, caskets, tombstones? Larry Connors here. I suggest you call Benjamin Schaefer at Senior Memorial. Call 314-866-8886 or visit memorialplans.com. Memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
This is 101.9 and 94.1.
Female millennial Trump supporter. I listen to it like every day. Like, seriously, you get it.
News Talk STL.
Hey, this is Rob Carter. Join me weeknights at 8 p.m. as I challenge our politicians, expose the political press, and analyze pop culture. It's the Rob Carter Show weeknights from 8 to 10 p.m. here on News Talk STL. Now let's get back to the best men's league over 40 backstop in St. Louis. Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Hey, Fairview Heights, I'm playing ball on Friday in your neck of the woods.
Nice.
Good.
See you out at Moody Park. Just, can you keep your teenagers under control, please? We'd rather not be surrounded by hundreds of unruly teenagers.
Yikes.
So please keep an eye on that.
What time is first pitch?
7 o'clock.
Okay.
On Friday. Yep. And then Saturday, I'll be in Alton playing over at Lloyd Hopkins Field, there where the River Dragons play.
You're like a traveling roadshow.
Oh, we play all over the area, man. There's a lot. All right, President Biden seems to think the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling, doesn't apply to him. Doesn't worry about that. No. Law enforcement in Illinois highlighting the consequences of the left's pro-criminal laws. And this has gotten very, very personal for some of the law enforcement in Illinois. 8:26 right now. Let's dump some news on you here.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks. The Morning News Dump.
All right, here we go. President Biden on the campaign trail. He was up in Wisconsin yesterday telling supporters that he's got a new plan to forgive student loan debt for over 30 million Americans. And this, of course, is after the Supreme Court said, hey, by the way, that thing, you can't do that.
I will never stop to deliver student debt relief on hardworking Americans, and it's only in the interest of America that we do it. And again, it's for the good of our economy that's growing stronger and stronger, and it is. By freeing millions of Americans from this crushing debt of student debt, it means they can finally get on with their lives instead of their lives being put on hold.
Okay, so what Biden wants to do is forgive up to $20,000 in interest for some borrowers. Senator Ted Cruz was on the bottom line with Dagan and Duffy. Here's his reply.
What Joe Biden is saying is to every steel worker, to every truck driver, to every construction worker, to every blue-collar worker, that the Democrats don't care about you, and they're going to take your money and they're going to give it to woke gender studies majors because their interest is trying to buy votes.
Okay, so the plan, by trying to forgive all of the interest, it would allow forgiveness for some people paying off undergraduate loans for 20 years, graduate loans for 25 years, because they've already paid more than the actual principal, whether or not they kept up with the interest or not.
So meet Biden's new plan. It's the same as the old plan.
Yeah, just
to quote the Who,
kind of, dressed up a little bit, but essentially the Supreme Court says, hey, you can't do that. And he says, well, I'll do it this way. Well, you can't do that. Well, I'll just do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Ted Cruz's argument definitely works on blue collar voters because they'll see very easily that hey, wait a minute, I'm getting screwed here. But I think that the people who have received this money, you need a different tact with them.
Right.
You need to remind them that the administration knocked them down and mugged them of $1,100 a month and is now trying to bribe them again with a $400 a month check to say, hey, we're still cool, right?
Right, yeah, exactly.
That's the problem.
Yeah, it is. All right, Donald Trump announces his new position on abortion. He discussed the issues in a video posted on his social media platform, Truth Social.
My view is now that we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal standpoint, the states will determine by vote or legislation or perhaps both, and whatever they decide must be the law of the land. In this case, the law of the state.
Okay, and of course, a variety of opinions on that. Curious what you think. I'm still looking at some of the comments coming in on social media. Okay, let's see here real quick here. Last week, a drunk driver crashed into a DeKalb County Sheriff's Patrol cruiser that killed Deputy Christina Musel. And today, the man who was driving the car, he's charged with reckless homicide and DUI. He's not in jail, not being held. He's released.
So crazy.
He's out. Illinois Sheriff's Association put out a statement saying that the release of Nathan Sweeney before his trial is due to the Safety Act, and they couldn't keep him in. The prosecutors couldn't even keep him in because of the provisions of that new law, which Democrats passed in 2021, and Governor Pritzker signed into law. And Gabe, this is exactly what Republicans, this is exactly what the Freedom Caucus, and this is actually what a lot of conservative media were saying is going to happen. Somebody is going to be in jail for literally killing somebody, and the law is going to require them to be released.
Yeah, we this is another "I told you so" moment for us because we warned about the Safety Act, even when it was just being considered.
Right.
But here we are, letting killers out on the streets.
Okay, real quick before I update you on the Cardinals, Google says searches for information based on the phrases "my eyes hurt" and "why do my eyes hurt" spiked yesterday around 2:20 Central Time, which happens to be when the eclipse was maxing out and beginning to end.
You know what? Survival of the fittest. Let them go blind. God,
Yeah.
you dummies! You were looking at the
You
sun.
were staring at the sun. That's why. All right. Took an extra inning, but the Phillies win the first game of the series with the Cardinals at Busch Stadium. Redbirds came from behind, scored 2 in the 9th inning to tie the game up, but gave up 2 runs in the 10th. By the way, the extra inning rule where we start with somebody on second base sucks. It's stupid.
I despise it.
And we have a baseball commissioner who hates the game of baseball. I haven't said that in a while.
I despise him, too.
I agree. Final score was 5-3. I'd reach over and high-five you, but I knocked down all this equipment.
Screw those guys.
Final score was 5-3. Game 2 of the series is today at 6:45. Cardinals fans, Sonny Gray going to be on the mound. It's his first ever start as a Cardinal today at Busch Stadium.
That I like to hear.
Yep.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Center.
Partly sunny and mild today. There is just a slight chance of a shower, but most of today's rain will slide by to the south of St. Louis, up to 72 this afternoon. Tonight, rain still hanging to the south for the most part. Lots of clouds, though, 54 for a mild overnight low. Higher rain chances kicking in on Wednesday and lasting into Thursday, too. We're at 68 for the high Wednesday. Could see more than an inch of rain from Wednesday into Thursday. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Shea.
Fox News commentary.
The illegal immigrant influencer who urged fellow illegals to squat in homes is now playing victim from jail. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
TikTok influencer Leonel Moreno, who became social media infamous for posting about his brazen illegal status and recently encouraged fellow illegals to squat in American homes, was finally arrested by ICE nearly 2 years after entering illegally through Eagle Pass. Now that he is finally in custody in an Ohio jail, he is whining and complaining about the persecution he's facing in the U.S. In a 30-minute video televisit from inside the jail, Moreno cried that he misses his freedom and claims he is being defamed. He also vowed to use his First Amendment rights that he does not have to fight charges. Moreno has no legal right to be here and should have been deported long ago, but thanks to Biden's catch and release illegal immigrant parole program, he, like millions of others, has been allowed to skirt the system. So I say loudly, deport now. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
Question: do you know what vermiculite is? It is an insulation in the attics of hundreds of thousands of homes and public buildings. Looks like kitty litter, but often contains asbestos. Wellington Environmental is the largest company in the Midwest that can remove that hazard for you. Wellington has what is called the General, a powerful industrial vacuum that can suck vermiculite out of the attic. Hang on, there's something else you should know. Many of you might qualify for up to a $4,000 rebate. You should at least contact Wellington to see if you qualify. And here's something else. Wellington arrives at the time they give you, not sometime within 4 hours. 314-644-4930. 644-4930. WellingtonSTL.com. WellingtonSTL.com. Wellington Environmental. Your world. Cleaner, better, safer. Be well with Wellington.
Man, what a great party you're throwing here. This wasp nest is great.
Yeah, man, we got about 70 wasps in here.
Too bad we can't fit any more wasps in here. It looks like they're having fun outside, stinging all the kids. Oh, man, who just pulled up?
Oh, no, it's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They seem to kill every one of my parties.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Chris DeGaulle, host of the podcast Making the Leap.
Gone are the days of my mother who taught for 30 years in public school. Gone are the days of the altruism where they genuinely wanted to teach kids. It seems today it is a mission field for the American left to continue their march of Marxism and busting up the American family.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Katie, reminding you to subscribe to our show podcast so you never miss anything that happens here at News Talk STL. Get our podcasts every day on the show pages at newstalkstl.com, or just subscribe to your favorite shows on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, or anywhere else you get your podcasts.
Love the music you hear on the morning show? Check out Mike's morning music playlist at newstalkstl.com.
You know, one of the things I love most about what we allow of the free market, as much of the free market as we allow anymore, is the gig economy of the last several years.
Oh, gosh.
Love it.
It's changed the landscape.
I am a nerd about free markets, and the gig economy is I think, a fascinating thing to study, but it's also one of the most frustrating things to watch politicians jump all over because of all. Why would you want to jump in and limit something that's creating so much opportunity?
Because there's no regulation on it. So there must be regulation because I make regulations as my job. So I have to regulate the thing that's not regulated.
Pretty much, yeah. All right, it's 8:37 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson. Got Gabe Pfeiffer here. Got Stel Ponticus here as well. Don't forget, with News Talk STL, we've got our newsletter, which I think comes out tomorrow, right? NewsTalkSTL.com. Sign up for the newsletter. It is free, and it's great.
Awesome.
It's awesome. It's a short read. It's a lot of fun, and it includes a exclusive cartoon from Todd Showalter. All right, joined now by Jarrett Dieterle from our friends at the R Street Institute. And hey, Jarrett, good to chat with you again. I think it's been a few months here. Great op-ed that I saw yesterday, and that's why I reached out and wanted to get him on the show. It is called Counterpoint. I got to figure out where the original point is, but Counterpoint, when it comes to the gig economy, the only thing to fear is fear itself. So you're answering to somebody here, but I'm glad that this was brought up, pardon me, because when we think of gig economy, you know, we think of DoorDash, we think of Grubhub, we think of Lyft, we think of Uber, we think of all these things. There's a lot more of them out there. And once the gig economy really got started, so many people added second jobs. So many people, added fill-in jobs. And it had just seemed like something that would not be controversial. Just let this part of the free market work. But that's not what happened when it came to policy and regulation. So tell me about why there has to be a counterpoint that you're responding to on this and why it's so important that we say, listen, a free market benefits everybody, man. This should not be a partisan thing.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me again. And really the unfortunate thing is that it has become controversial, and it really started out in California in 2018. Since then, it's spread up to the federal government and in some other states as well, where basically they're taking gig workers who operate as 1099 independent contractors, like many other industries, and they're trying to say that they really are full-scale employees of, some of the companies you listed, the platforms that run the on-demand gig work. And therefore, they should kind of have all the things that attach to being an employee. And that might sound great or feasible or neutral, but the reality is that there's a reason that they are treated as independent contractors because, as you all know, and everyone who has a smartphone knows, the way that it works is you kind of just log on when you want to drive for a little bit or you want to deliver some food, and then you log back off. You set your own hours. You kind of have your own arrangements for it. It's really not like being an employee at all. I can't do that in my job, for example, as a full scale employee. So, unfortunately, though, the left has argued that the only way to protect these workers is to make them full-scale employees, which isn't true, but that's what they've attempted to do. Most recently, the Biden administration has with a new regulation.
Morning, Jarrett. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So it seems as though this is a solution looking for a problem. The people who enjoy gig work don't seem to have that much in the way of complaints. There's no advocacy group for them, right? There's no lobbying group. So why are legislators, why isn't the administration trying to stick their nose in?
Yeah, well, I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's interesting because the workers themselves overwhelmingly want to stay as independent contractors because of the flexibility. And ironically, if you look at worker surveys generally right now in America, the number one thing all workers care about is flexibility. That's over salary and benefits nowadays. And so that's what they want. And the best way to have that flexibility is to allow them to contract to work whenever they want to. And so, really it is going against the interest of what the actual workers want. There's just this idea on the American left that our economy is like almost like scotch taped together with just a bunch of people working these side hustles that can't get quote unquote good jobs, which they tend to define as 9-to-5 jobs, the full suite of salary and benefits. And it's just not the reality of what's happening. You see all these articles about gig work rising and more paperwork's being filed because of the $1099, $600 income threshold. More people are filing for that, but that doesn't mean that a bunch of people are all of a sudden doing part-time work when they want to be doing full-time work. And that actually, if you look at the actual labor statistics, it shows that. So really what's going on is the union interests on the left want to make more people full-scale employees, makes them easier to organize ultimately and become union members. So there's that undercurrent that's really going through all of this, and that's been one of the major proponents pushing it. And as you said, the drivers themselves don't have that kind of political heft that the unions do.
Well, and the argument may be, and we're touching on it right here, is, well, if it means that somebody gets more benefits or they get higher pay or they're now affected by a high minimum wage, isn't everybody just going to make more money? You pass the regulations, you require them to have the same setting as other people who are working, and poof, there's more prosperity. I mean, what's the problem with the argument? Because that's at least what's being claimed.
Yeah, no, that is what is being claimed, and it's a little bit like you said, a solution in search of a problem. To the extent that is a problem, the best thing to do in public policy is actually address that problem, and there's ways to do that. You could set up things like portable benefit funds, which, sounds fancy, but basically it would just be kind of an IRA-esque fund that workers could contribute to, employers could contribute to, and they could purchase things like health insurance out of it. There's ways to actually do that, and it's not just reclassifying them as employees. When you do that, it obviously creates tremendous economic costs for the businesses themselves, and that's what happened in California. They've actually looked, and overall employment declined in California. Certainly contracting work declined in California after the passage of their bill that did this at the state level. And, there's a reason for that, and it just is completely infeasible to make every Uber driver, for example, a full-scale employee and expect that to actually work. What will just happen is the companies will end up actually leaving those jurisdictions. And if it happens all across America, then we'll just all be paying a lot more for Ubers. It's just kind of economics 101. No one wants to look at that reality.
Let me ask kind of the flip side of that question. One of the arguments I've also heard, and you can address the seriousness of it or not, is, well, then what's to stop employers from just saying, okay, suddenly you're all contract workers, you're all gig workers, we're just shifting you to a different classification. By the way, I don't have to pay for your overtime, or I don't have to pay for your benefits anymore. You're not covered by it. We're all just contract workers now here in the office.
Yeah, well, first of all, there's never not been regulations determining what constitutes an employee or an independent contractor. It's just that the new regulations the left is pushing load the dice to make basically everyone be an employee. So the idea that we were just living in this like wild west that, all these employers could just turn people over to independent contractors isn't true. And it's seen by the fact that most people are not independent contractors. So actually, again, we have like a data sample of what that actually looks like. And there's many reasons that employers don't want everyone to be independent contractors. Like what I do, I work at a think tank. They would not want that. It would be really unhelpful for them to have me be able to choose my own hours, for example, and randomly work sometimes, but then also not other times. They want to be able to have me work consistently and be able to have some control over my schedule. And so it just, again, to argue that is just to ignore the reality of what actually makes sense for businesses and what's actually happening on the ground.
Just purely out of curiosity on my part, do we have any numbers on what percentage of gig workers do this mostly as a part-time thing, and who's actually just making a living doing a series maybe of part-time work?
Yeah, I mean, what you see is that almost all like gig workers are fitting this in at times that works for them, and so it's too much of a black and white to look at it as like, are they making a living? It's the single mom out there that can fit in a couple hours here and there to make some extra cash, and that's what she wants. She wants cash. She doesn't want necessarily some complicated benefit package. She's trying to get a little bit extra cash, and maybe is doing it in addition to another job, as you just said. And even the people that are doing it full time, they want, again, to be able to figure out when work makes sense for them. Sometimes it makes sense to work really heavily on Friday, Saturday night for food deliveries, for example. So it's just, the workers themselves want to basically be able, it's one of the beauties of the gig work, right? To be able to fit the job around your life instead of having to fit life around the job.
The article is called Counterpoint. When it comes to the gig economy, the only thing to fear is fear itself. It was written by Jarrett Dieterle, and you can find it at rstreet.org. Jarrett, appreciate you being on the program here, because I think this is something that we've got to just keep unleashed in order to let the economy grow and let, frankly, a lot of society kind of grow and evolve the way that a free market will let it happen. So once again, check that out at rstreet.org. And Jarrett, great talking to you again. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jarrett.
Yep, thanks.
All right, 314-912-1019. Guys, every time I've taken an Uber or a Lyft or anything like that, I always try to strike up a conversation with the driver. Mm-hmm. I have yet to hear anybody complain about Uber or Lyft.
They generally rave about it. It's like, oh, yeah, and it's pretty much like Jarrett said. They are praising the flexibility of it.
Yeah,
that's I can do this whenever I want. I didn't have to take this ride.
Right.
kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's the flexibility is what they like. Mm-hmm. Or I've heard people say, I had to leave this job, or I got laid off. Man, this is going to get me through the next thing. Thank God I've got this.
Yes.
Or I'm retired and I would never, drive like on a Friday or Saturday night. I don't want to deal with all those drunks or something,
mm-hmm.
and that sort of thing. But that's the constant theme I've had.
Oh, yeah.
And then I always ask your Uber or your Lyft driver, always ask them, what's the craziest story you've had in your car?
Oh, gosh.
You will get some of the best stories you will ever hear from those drivers.
I'll tell you what, people who like meeting new people, they love being Uber drivers.
Yeah.
They really do, because you get paid to meet new people, and they like meeting new people.
Right. Well, and, my wife and I know a teenager, I won't say who, but it's her younger son, who is a little slow in finding his work now that he's out of high school. And my wife just finally said, sign up for DoorDash.
Yeah.
Sign up for Instacart. You can work if you want right now.
Yeah, there's nothing stopping you.
That's what he did.
All right.
314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Jewels on Hampton and St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks and sports memorabilia and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa, and jewelsonhampton.com. Call them at 314-752-5000, 314-752-5000, and jewelsonhampton.com. Jewels on Hampton.
If you just recently inherited a property and you're not sure what to do with it, maybe it needs a lot of work, but you know you need to get it sold, reach out today. 314-417-1000, 417-1000. My name's Chad Clayman with Clayman Real Estate, where we've been buying houses directly from the seller with no middleman involved for over 90 years. We're a family business, and we help simplify the sale for folks that don't want to list the house on the market and have to deal with the entire sales process. And we specialize with people that just recently inherited a house. We're very familiar with the probate process, so if that is you, please reach out and we can simplify your sale today. 314-417-1000, 314-417-1000. And we've been doing it for over 90 years. So if you have a house that you'd like to sell, whether you inherited it or it needs work, please reach out as we can make you a simple, fair cash offer. 314-417-1000, 314-417-1000.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
Joe Biden is actually trying to win over those who shout death to America. He thinks that will help him win?
Larry Connors USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Vic.
Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday, 9 to 11, right here on News Talk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Whoosh, my morning people.
Good comment here from Ed on Rumble. He says it's not about the worker protection. It's about taxes. It's about control.
There it is. That's it.
I think that's 100% correct. It really is about the control. I mean, if Gabe and I were just talking here in that last information segment, if God forbid something happens here, and I'm out of work, I can go work literally within minutes.
Or you can play baseball all day, but go ahead.
That's what I'd rather do. I see. That's the thing is my gig economy could fund my baseball habit.
Yes.
That's really how I look at it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what work does. It funds my baseball habit. That's what it does. All right, 8:52 right now, going on 8:53. Got Gabe here, got Stell here. Of course, remember what now we would call gig work back then, for like young people.
Mm-hmm.
Because I look at, now my kids were both, the gig work stuff happened after my kids went off to college.
Right.
Okay, because both my kids are in their mid and late 20s at this point. So there wasn't like there was a DoorDash or anything like that when they were in school. And so, but my wife's kids are younger than my kids. One's 19 and one's 18. And the younger one, like I said, he was trying to apply for work and he's looking all around and a little bit slow landing the work. And my wife just said, listen, you can download this app and start working right now.
Yeah. It is a very different landscape than it was when we, emerged from college. And it's like, okay, yeah, I'm walking to places with my resume. I'm sending out letters. In my case, it was emails. Looking for work. And nobody was when nobody was biting, I did not work.
Right.
Because those were the only jobs available. These days, if once I send my emails, then I turn on my phone and I go work.
Yeah.
Like that could easily be the case.
And it's not even just the delivery stuff. I mean, there are gig apps now for like if you're a handyman.
Yeah, that's true.
If you're a decorator. I mean, if whatever it is. I mean,
there's voiceover work. There's transcription work for medical stuff. There's all kinds of stuff you can do remotely. Yeah, it's everywhere.
This is the brilliance of the free market.
Yeah,
and that's the thing is, it's not just about a lack of government controls, because I'm a small government guy. It's not just because I don't like government. It is because it allows the innovation, and it allows us to evolve in ways and provide opportunities that we didn't even think about 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, and that's the thing, is all the different stories when I'm talking to these drivers. There was one woman, I remember, I needed a lift to the airport. I don't remember where I was going. And this lady, and I always ask, I said, so is this full-time, is this part-time for you? And she goes, well, it's somewhere in between. And I said, really, what's that mean? And she goes, well, what I really want to do is work at my church. She goes, but they really can't afford to pay me anything. She goes, but that's what I do. That's what I consider my vocation. That's what I consider. She said, so this lets me do that.
Wow. That's
And
awesome.
I'm like, that is why I love the gig economy free market. So she actually said, she goes, some days we got a lot of stuff going on and I can only work 10 or 15 hours a week doing the driving. She goes, but man, other weeks, you know, I can make more money and I can drive for 20, 30 or even 40 hours a week. She goes, but I just fit it in around what I'm really passionate about, which is working at her church. I don't know what job she did at her church. It sounded like something administratively, but I don't know what it was, but that was one of the best answers. I had a lot of people say, yeah, you just retired. I just, wanted to keep working, keep doing something. The guy, when I flew back from Florida, he goes, my wife just said, hey, you should find a little bit of part-time work and get out there a little bit. And I said, what's that mean? I said, I think she got tired of me after I retired and just wanted me out of the house. He said,
More than likely.
Yeah, he said, but I'm making good money,
That's usually how it
and I'm
goes.
enjoying it.
That's how
So,
it goes.
that's where those opportunities are, and why anybody would want to limit that, because you put regulations on, you put more cost on, what's going to happen is fewer people are going to be allowed those opportunities.
So back when I was a kid, would cutting lawns be the gig work back then?
Yes.
Because,
Yep.
Absolutely.
If you could get it.
Yeah. Shoveling snow, cutting lawns, babysitting.
Yep.
There's all kinds of little side hustles that you could do. I mean, I knew kids that would, write up signs, call me for, cutting your grass or whatever it is, painting.
Set up the lemonade stands.
Right. Yeah.
All that.
Yeah. Painting, houses or whatever.
I wanted to shovel the walkway for the house at the corner, but my dad wouldn't let me because it turns out it was a crack house.
Oh, yeah. They would pay you in cash, but just like wear gloves to pick up the cash.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, Vic Porcelli coming your way here in about 6 minutes on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Hey, don't forget to connect with us on social media. News Talk STL is where you can find us on Twitter, X, Facebook, and all the others. But I'm at AVP Radio Show. Gabe is at
News Talk, or at John Philosopher.
Yeah, so if you want
Twitter.
to keep the conversations going, because I know there's a lot of people still commenting about Donald Trump and the abortion issue and all that sort of stuff too. So you still want to keep talking? Let's do it. We don't have to stop talking just because we're handing things over to Vic.
Well, perhaps my work here is done. Perhaps it's time that I moved on to a place where there's stuff to do. Stuff to do.
Hey, Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros. When Christine and I bought our new house, we knew the gutters were an issue, and after meeting the Gutter Pros team, we knew that they were right for us. Gutter Pros is your all-in-one gutter service team that offers a variety of affordable solutions, and they even offer free estimates, so there's no cost to you to find out if they are right for your home, just like they were for ours. If you're having a problem with your gutters, contact the Gutter Pros now, because with Gutter Pros, water goes where they tell it to. Call them at 314-656-7195 or visit gutterpros.com.
It's no longer a question of if something is coming. It's when. The only shock will be the what. Your gut, the feeling you've had that something ominous is on the way. It's likely true. But what are you going to do about it now while you still have some control? Your first step is going to mypatriotsupply.com. After that, your next step is stocking up on multiple one-week emergency